अभी तो बहुत कम लोग जुड़े हैं। बहुत कम लोग जुड़े हैं अभी। 7 लोग हैं।
ज्यादा तो वैसे भी नहीं है किसी बड़े की बात है।
आनी चाहिए।
तुम आगे
नमस्कार। हम आगे अध्यक्ष जोली जी आगे। हमसे बजे भी नहीं कुछ ठीक नहीं है। हाँ 5 बजे।
डायरेक्ट आ गया।
तारे की सलाद काट ले, सूप बना ले, सूप बना ले। हैं? कौन? अब कोई ना आवे तो आपने भरोसा काम करो। किसका चला लेना है?
इधर लाइट जला दो।
नमस्कार शर्मा जी।
नमस्ते साहब, नमस्ते।
कैसे हैं सर?
सेक्रेटरी साहब नमस्कार।
गोयल साहब आप म्यूट पे हैं, आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही है, म्यूट पे है।
सॉरी 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 सॉरी, अब आ रही होगी। उनका
हाँ
सभी
बात
एक ही एज ग्रुप पे ट्रैवल कर रहे हैं अपन।
हाँ, इसीलिए तो सक्सेशन की जरूरत है अपने को ही।
शुरुआत यही से हो रही है।
भाई वेक्टा वेक्टा जी की तो कुर्सी हमने सक्सीड करी थी, वो जी हमारे बॉस थे।
वेक्टर जी तो बॉस है ही सर।
और शर्मा जी कैसे हैं?
बिल्कुल ठीक है सर।
हाँ,
ये टॉपिक भी बहुत रेलेवेंट है सर आज का, वैसे देखा जाए।
बहुत रिलेवेंट है, बहुत
बहुत।
रिलेवेंट है। क्योंकि ये जो बिना सक्सेशन के जो निकल जाते हैं ना बॉस, वो बहुत पीछे लड़ाइयां छोड़ जाते हैं।
एग्जैक्टली सर। सर
और
ये तो
इतनी
चलो
लड़ाइयां
एक
कि
एक आपकी एक पर्सनल वाली कहानी होगी, और आप देखो बिजनेस एम्पायर में अगर इसको देखो तो
हाँ
बिजनेस
हाँ,
एम्पायर
बिजनेस।
कॉलेप्स हो जाते हैं सर।
अच्छा,
एम्पायर
अगर आप
कॉलेप्स हो जाता है।
सोचो नहीं, अगर आप सोचो नहीं कि 10 साल बाद क्या होगा, तो आपका बिजनेस ही खत्म हो जाएगा।
बिजनेस खत्म हो जाएगा
सेकंड
सर,
मैन,
एम्पायर खत्म हो जाएगा।
सेकंड मैन तो करना पड़ेगा बॉस।
और हर फील्ड में, अगर अपन
हर
जैसे
फील्ड में।
आरटीसीए प्लेटफॉर्म पे ये बात कर रहे हैं, तो अगर
हाँ हाँ,
आरटीसीए का भी आप 10 साल की बाद की लीडर्स पैदा नहीं करोगे
बिल्कुल
तो
सही
सर
कर रहे
क्या
हो,
होगा।
सही कर रहे हो, बिल्कुल।
आज अगर राका जी या अपने इनसे पहले वाले वो लीडर्स थोड़े बहुत टॉर्च बियरर्स पैदा नहीं करते तो
हाँ हाँ,
ये
यार
ऊंचाइयां
कौन
बुलंद ये
संभालता,
थोड़ी है।
कौन
नहीं चल
संभालता।
नहीं चल सकती। तो किसी भी कोई भी चीज हो, चाहे बीट इंडिविजुअल बीट बिजनेस में, बहुत रेलेवेंट टॉपिक है।
किसके?
हाँ हाँ,
हाँ, फाइल कर दो। इसका तो डीएससी है।
अपन चालू कर देंगे, 15 हो गए, 5-10 हो गए। देखिए प्रेजेंस तो सर ऐसी
तीनों
रहने
डीएससी
वाली
के
है,
सीधे ही
लोग
कर दो।
जुड़ते रहेंगे।
करिश्मा कैसे कर दो?
विनय
हाँ, होती
जॉली
रहेंगे,
जी,
होते रहेंगे लोग।
विनय सर,
जोली सर नहीं
अध्यक्ष
आएगा,
महोदय
जोली
चालू
सर।
कर दें क्या अपन।
कर दो सर, कर दो।
हाँ, नेचुरली
आगे।
प्रेजेंस तो अब धीरे धीरे बढ़ जाएगी सर। प्रेजेंस का तो कोई
हाँ।
वो नहीं है, क्योंकि अपन ने बड़े अच्छे से देखा हुआ है और बच्चे अच्छे से समझा हुआ है कि एक आदमी बोलने वाला था और एक आदमी सुनने वाला था, और पांच
सही
हजार
बात
साल
है।
पहले गीता का सार जिन्होंने समझाया था, आज गीता घर घर में जा रही। तो क्या पता इसकी भी कहानी घर घर में चली जाएगी बाद में। जितने लोग हैं
बिल्कुल
उतने से
ठीक।
शुरुआत करते हैं। आज के जितने भी हमारे ऑडियंस है, जितने भी हमारे भाई हैं, उन सभी को मेरा बहुत बहुत नमस्कार, बहुत बहुत प्रणाम। और सबसे पहले दिवाली की सभी को बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं। दिवाली और नया वर्ष, आने वाला नया वर्ष की बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं और मंगल कामनाएं। नया वर्ष आपके लिए बहुत बहुत शुभकारी और मंगलकारी हो, ऐसी हमारी प्रभु से प्रार्थना है। आज की जो टॉपिक है सर, वो सक्सेस इन पर्सनल लाइफ और बिजनेस लाइफ, दिस इज आवर टॉपिक। आज के हमारे जो ऑडिटर हैं, आज के जो स्पीकर हैं, एडवोकेट तनुज अग्रवाल जी हमारे साथ जुड़े हुए हैं, एक चार्ट अकाउंटेंट कम एडवोकेट। वो हमें इसकी इंट्रिकेसीज में ले जाएंगे, व्हाई इट इज सो नेसेसरी। जैसा अभी हम बात कर रहे थे कि अगर सक्सेशन प्लानिंग नहीं होती है तो पूरा का पूरा बिजनेस कोलैप्स हो सकता है। आपके पीछे बहुत लड़ाइयाँ, जाने के बाद में बहुत लड़ाइयाँ हो सकती है और बहुत कुछ हो सकता है। तो सक्सेशन प्लानिंग बहुत बड़ा पार्ट है, और उसमें हमारा पार्ट बहुत बड़ा है कि जनरल आदमी को, एक लेमैन को एक बहुत बढ़िया सी डीड हम बना के दें या बहुत बढ़िया सी उसको एडवाइस दें, तो हमारा पार्ट उसमें बहुत बड़ा है। तो हमारे लिए बहुत बड़ी बड़ी अपॉर्चुनिटीज हैं। जितने भी, अगर आपकी पॉपुलेशन 130 करोड़ है और जितने भी उनके हेड्स हैं, उन सबको सक्सेशन प्लानिंग की जरूरत है। तो हमारे लिए स्कोप बहुत बड़ा है सक्सेशन प्लानिंग का। अगर आप उसमें एडवाइजरी पार्ट पे आते हैं, हमारे मेंबर्स अगर एडवाइजरी पार्ट पे आते हैं, तो उसका स्कोप बहुत बड़ा है। आपका हर क्लाइंट को आपकी जरूरत है। हर क्लाइंट आपका बिजनेसमैन भी है तो इंडिविजुअल भी है, इंडिविजुअल को भी उतनी जरूरत है जितनी बिजनेसमैन को जरूरत है। तो हर क्लाइंट में आप अपना फ्यूचर देख सकते हैं, अपना अपॉर्चुनिटीज देख सकते हैं। तो ये आज का स्कोप बहुत बड़ा है। तनुज भाई और बताएंगे हमें। और सबसे बड़ी बात, आज हमारे साथ एज ए की नोट एड्रेस आर के गुरवाला साहब, जो इस संस्था के पिलर रहे हुए हैं। नॉट ओनली संस्था के पिलर, वो हमारी आईसीआईसी ब्रांच, जयपुर ब्रांच के वाइस चेयरमैन रहे हुए हैं, सेक्रेटरी रहे हुए हैं। नॉट ओनली जयपुर ब्रांच के, वो हमारी सीआईआरसी के चेयरमैन रहे हुए हैं। तो बहुत ही लर्नेड और बहुत एक्सपीरियंस कैरी किया हुआ उन्होंने। वो आज हमारे साथ जुड़ेंगे की नॉट इस पे आज इस कीनोट स्पीकर। हमारे लिए बड़े सौभाग्य की बात है कि दोनों विद्वानों का हमें साथ मिलेगा और ज्ञान के गंगा में हम हमारे ज्ञान को और बढ़ाएंगे। तो मैं ज्यादा समय नहीं लेते हुए आप सभी लोगों का पुनः अभिवादन करता हूँ और पुनः ये मंगल कामना करता हूँ कि आपका नया साल और दिवाली बहुत बहुत शुभ रहे। मैं हमारे आज के मतलब हमारे आज के नहीं, हमारे अध्यक्ष विनय ज्वाली जी हैं इस संस्था के, उनसे निवेदन करता हूँ कि वो थोड़ा सा अपना उद्बोधन दे। विनय ज्वाली
थैंक यू रतन जी, थैंक यू रतन जी। तो पहले मैं आप सभी का आज इस वेबिनार में स्वागत करता हूं और सभी को दिवाली की बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं। आशा करता हूं कि सबकी दिवाली बहुत अच्छी रही होगी। आज हमारे बीच में हमारे ही साथी, छोटा भाई कह सकता हूं मैं उनको, अनुज जी आज के स्पीकर हैं और सक्सेशन प्लानिंग के बारे में, पर्सनल लाइफ और बिजनेस के से रिलेटेड वो उसमें हमें बताएंगे कि किस तरह की सक्सेशन प्लानिंग होनी चाहिए ताकि आगे झगड़े नहीं हो और बिजनेस और व्यापार जो है वो खत्म नहीं हो, तो कोलैप्स नहीं हो। तो इस तरह की प्लानिंग करें ताकि हम आगे जो लड़ाई झगड़े बस आपस में फैमिली में या किसी भी तरह समाप्त हो जाए, इस तरह के प्लानिंग हमें सक्सेशन की बात बताएंगे तनुज जी। और मैं एक बार फिर आप सभी का स्वागत करता हूँ और साथ ही आप लोगों से एक रिक्वेस्ट है कि आप अपने सभी, मेरे जितने भी एग्जीक्यूटिव मेंबर और ऑफिस बेयर्स हैं, वो अपने सभी ग्रुपों में इस तरह के प्रोग्रामों का प्रचार करें, अपने अपने ग्रुपों में डालें सभी, ताकि ज्यादा से ज्यादा लोग जुड़े और अपने साथियों को कहें कि इस तरह के प्रोग्राम अटेंड करें ताकि उसका बेनिफिट ज्यादा से ज्यादा लोग ले सके। यही मेरा कहना है। एक बार फिर से आपका स्वागत है। थैंक यू।
थैंक यू अध्यक्ष महोदय, आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। आपने जैसे बताया कि आज बहुत बड़ा इम्पोर्टेंट टॉपिक है। आप देखेंगे कि जितने भी हमारे बड़े बिजनेस हाउसेज है, अगर आप माइक्रोसॉफ्ट की बात करते हैं तो बिल गेट्स ने भी अपने जो हेयर्स हैं उनको अपना कारोबार सौंपा है। वो मेन स्ट्रीम से हटके उनके दूसरे जो उत्तराधिकारी हैं वो काम संभाल रहे हैं। तो जितने भी बड़े हाउसेज है, यू टेक द बिरलाज, यू टेक द टाटाज, तो जितने भी बड़े हाउसेज हैं वो सारे सारे अपने उत्तराधिकारी बहुत पहले से प्लान करते हैं, फिर उनको ट्रेन करते हैं, उनको अडेप्टेबिलिटी भी लाते हैं कि आपको एक सीएफओ, आपको पूरा बिजनेस संभालना है। तो आपको सक्सेशन प्लानिंग का बहुत बड़ा रोल हमारे जीवन में और हमारे बिजनेस में है। तो तनुज भाई आज हमें बहुत डीप में लेके जाएंगे, निश्चित रूप से डीप में लेके जाएंगे। मैं निवेदन कर रहा हूँ हमारे साथ में अगर शैलेंद्र अग्रवाल जी टीसीए से जुड़े हैं।
नहीं,
शैलेंद्र अग्रवाल जी नहीं है, संदीप अग्रवाल जी भी नहीं है। आज सतीश गुप्ता जी भी हमारे जो इस प्रोग्राम के डायरेक्टर हैं, पूरा प्रोग्राम की रूपरेखा जिन्होंने बनाई है, वो आज अपने पर्सनल कामों से, क्योंकि उनके घर में 2-2 शादियां हैं, इसलिए वो भी आज नहीं है। तो मैं निवेदन करूंगा आज के हमारे कीनोट स्पीकर माननीय श्री गुरवाला साहब से कि वो आए और हमारा जो ज्ञानवर्धन करें और सब्जेक्ट पे मार्गदर्शन करें। आदरणीय गुरवाला साहब, प्लीज। क्लिक कर।
मेरे परिवारजनों, नरेंद्र मोदी जी मत समझ लेना मेरे को, केवल परिवारजनों ही बोल रहा हूँ। दिवाली का बताइए, मैं अपन लोग सब परिवार वाले ही हैं। भाई कहना भी गलत हो जाएगा, बहन कहना भी गलत हो जाएगा, कुछ और कहना भी गलत हो जाएगा। सबसे बड़ा है एक खून के हैं हम लोग,
बिल्कुल सर।
एक प्रोफेशन के हैं हम लोग, तो हम लोग परिवार ही हैं और आज का सब्जेक्ट भी परिवार का ही है। क्यों जरूरत पड़ी सक्सेशन की?
बढ़िया हो मारो भी, पर आप देखो हमारे फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन में हम टाइम लागू बहुत।
सर अनम्यूट, सर अपने आप को म्यूट कर ले। एक सेकंड सर,
देख मैं तो आलो ना, मैं क्यों कर रहा हूं, और
आप
लास्ट में
कर दो।
रतन जी आप म्यूट कर दो।
हाँ मैं ही कर रहा हूँ, हो गए। अब आप
क्या पहले मेरी आवाज नहीं आ रही थी क्या?
दूसरों की आ रही थी।
अच्छा अच्छा। वैसे तो मेरे सामने रामोतार जी बैठे हुए हैं, मेरे से ज्यादा ज्ञानी है, इसमें कोई शक ही नहीं है। इधर तनुज बैठा है मेरा भतीजा, ये सब घर के लोग ही बैठे हैं। और जोली साहब तो खैर हमारे अध्यक्ष ही हैं आज की तारीख में। राजेंद्र जी
नमस्कार सर।
नमस्कार। और ये कौन है?
वेंकटा जी।
वेंकटा जी। हाँ,
वेंकटा जी।
तो हम लोग मेरे ख्याल में 7-8 लोग ही हैं कुल मिला करके। तो ये कंप्यूटर पे सारी की सारी बातें कर रहे हैं, इसकी जगह ये सोच लो कि हम पर्सनली बैठे हुए हैं और बात कर रहे हैं।
जुड़े तो 22 लोग हैं।
अच्छा, 22 लोग जुड़े हुए हैं, आ जाएंगे, जुड़ जाएंगे।
25 लोग
अच्छा,
हैं।
ठीक है। हम ये सोचे सक्सेशन की जरूरत क्यों पड़ी। एक इकोनॉमिक्स का नियम है, स्केर्सिटी जहां पे होती है ना, वहीं पे लड़ाई चालू हो जाती है। और उस लड़ाई को बचाने के लिए हमारे पूर्वजों ने, हमारे प्रोफेशनल्स ने एक लॉ बनाया है सक्सेशन के लिए। क्यों तनु जी, सही बोल रहा हूं मैं? सक्सेशन का मतलब ही यही है कि आगे जाकर के झगड़े नहीं हो, परिवार का रूप सही चलता रहे और व्यापार का रूप सही चलता है। हम पहले व्यापार से शुरू कर लेते हैं और परिवार पे बाद में आ जाएंगे। व्यापार के हम लोगों ने जो पढ़ी है, हम लोगों में वी ऑल, 3 ही रूप होते हैं, प्रोप्राइटरशिप, पार्टनरशिप और कंपनी। उसके बाद में तो फिर चलते जाओ, आप ट्रस्ट में भी बिजनेस होते हैं और कई तरीके के बिजनेस होते हैं। अब नया एक कंसेप्ट और आ गया है, इन तीनों ही बिजनेसेस के अंदर, इन तीनों ही बिजनेसेस के अंदर अगर संपत्ति है परिवार में, तो भी आपको सक्सेशन की प्लानिंग करनी पड़ेगी। और परिवार में सक्सेशन, पार्टनर्स में अगर आपस में मतभेद है तो भी सक्सेशन की प्लानिंग करनी पड़ेगी। मतलब अगर आपको व्यापार को सही तरीके से चलाना है तो सक्सेशन की प्लानिंग जरूरी है। मैं एक बहुत बड़ा एग्जांपल देता भी और ये सच्चाई भी है। 4 पार्टनर्स थे और चारों पार्टनर इक्वल थे 25-25% के। ईमानदारी से 10 साल तक काम चल रहा था। अल्टीमेटली उन्होंने कहा आराम से क्या पता लगता है, फ्लरिश बिजनेस है, एक ने 1 लाख की बेईमानी कर ली, दूसरे को पता लगा उसने भी वो कर ली। ये प्रैक्टिकल बात है जो मेरे ऑफिस के अंदर हुई है, वो बता रहा हूँ मैं आपको। तीसरे ने किया, वो भी पता लग गई, चौथे का भी हो गया। अब चारों लड़ रहे थे, व्यापार बिगड़ रहा था उनका। आकर के कान में बोले गुरुवाला जी हमारे साथ ये प्रॉब्लम हो गई, गुरुवाला जी ये प्रॉब्लम। चारों ने आकर के बता दी और ये बता दिया करीब 1-1 लाख रुपए की बेईमानी हुई है। मैंने चारों को बुलाया कि भैया कितने कितने की करिए, सही बताओ, करिए नहीं करिए, वो तो है ही नहीं, करी तो है ही, कितने की करिए कि साहब 1-1 लाख रुपए के आसपास की करिए। मैंने कहा तुम्हारा शेयर कितना है कि 25-25% का है। तो मैंने कहा अगर ईमानदारी में रहते तो भी 25% उतना ही मिलता, बेईमानी कर ली तो भी 25% उतना ही मिला, क्या मिला तुमको? बड़ी मुश्किल से उनको समझा करके उनका व्यापार वापस चला दिया। सक्सेशन यही है, घूम फिर कर। अगर आपने प्लानिंग सही तरीके से कर ली है, डॉक्यूमेंट सही तरीके से बना लिए हैं, तो आपकी प्लानिंग सही हो जाएगी। पार्टनरशिप डीड को बनाते टाइम पे सारी चीजें इतनी क्लियर लिखिए, किसी को बुरी लगे या अच्छी लगे, लेकिन वो आगे जाके दिक्कतें खत्म होता है। व्यापार की प्लानिंग में ये चीज देखने की होती है। कई लोग कैजुअली लिख लेते हैं, साहब वकील साहब आप तो हमारा पार्टनरशिप डीड लिख दीजिए और इसको बैंक के अंदर दे देंगे, इसको वहां दे देंगे, इसके बेस के ऊपर प्रीमिजेस किराए पे ले लेंगे, ये कर लेंगे, वो कर लेंगे। सब कुछ कर लीजिए, लेकिन वो डीड जो होना चाहिए अल्टीमेटली गलत टाइम पे वो डीड ही काम में आएगा। अगर आपने प्राइवेट लिमिटेड कंपनी भी बनाई है, वो नाम के लिए प्राइवेट लिमिटेड है, एक्चुअली वो पार्टनरशिप कंपनी है, पार्टनरशिप फर्म ही है। उसमें भी आपके शेयर होल्डिंग इस तरीके से कीजिए कि आपको परसेंटेज और प्रॉफिट जो अल्टीमेटली मिलने वाला है वो उतना ही करीब करीब मिल जाए। प्राइवेट लिमिटेड कंपनी प्रैक्टिकली घर की सी दुकान होती है। मैंने तो यही देखा अभी तक, मेरी 50-45 साल की प्रैक्टिस के अंदर यही देखा कि प्राइवेट लिमिटेड कंपनी प्रैक्टिकली घर की सी ही होती है। तो ये तो व्यापार की कहानी है जिसके अंदर आपको डॉक्यूमेंट बनाते टाइम पे बहुत गहराई से सोचना पड़ेगा। एज ए प्रोफेशनल आपको क्या काम करना है? आपके पास क्लाइंट आता है कि साहब हमारा डीड बना दीजिए, हमारा ये सेटलमेंट का कागज लिख दीजिए, हमारा ये लिख दीजिए। भाई केवल डीड बना देना या सेटलमेंट का कागज लिख देना सफिशिएंट नहीं है। वो आपका कागज अल्टीमेटली लॉन्ग लास्टिंग उनकी लाइफ के लिए बन करके रहना चाहिए। केवल एम्बिग्यूटी से बना हुआ कागज कभी मतलब का नहीं। नाउ अब फैमिली साइड पे आ जाते हैं। व्यापार की बात थोड़ी देर के लिए डेफर कर देते हैं। अगर किसी घर के अंदर केवल एक ही बेटा है, आपके पास क्या क्या चीज आई है? फोर फादर्स की प्रॉपर्टी, उसके अंदर बिल्डिंग भी हो सकती है, उसमें एफडीआर भी हो सकती है, उसमें जेवर भी हो सकता है, उसके अंदर और शेयर्स भी हो सकते हैं, और कहीं पे आपके पार्टनरशिप के शेयर्स भी, पार्टनरशिप के हिस्से भी हो सकते हैं, आपकी प्रोप्राइटरी फर्म भी हो सकती है। अगर आपके पास एक ही लड़का है और आगे पीछे कुछ भी नहीं है, तो कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है। सक्सेशन ऑटोमेटिकली बाय वर्च्यू ऑफ लीगल, बाय वर्च्यू ऑफ इमोशनल, बाय वर्च्यू ऑफ सोशल बिहेवियर वो अकेले में चला जाए। लेकिन एक बच्चे से ज्यादा अगर बेटी भी है, बेटे की तो बात छोड़िए, बेटी भी है, तो सेल्फ एक्वायर्ड प्रॉपर्टी के अलावा जो भी प्रॉपर्टी आपके पेरेंट्स से आई है, उसके अंदर उनका इक्वल शेयर होगा। अगर मान लीजिए 2 बेटे हैं, वो भी इक्वल शेयर होगा। 2 से ज्यादा है तो भी इक्वल शेयर होगा। एचयूएफ की प्रॉपर्टी है तो उसको सारी प्रॉपर्टी फैमिली की कहलाएगी, वो किसी इंडिविजुअल की नहीं रहेगी। तो अगर एचयूएफ की प्रॉपर्टी है तो उसके अंदर सबके शेयर इक्वल या जो भी लीगली उसके डिसाइड करने होंगे उसके हिसाब से होंगे। इंडिविजुअल प्रॉपर्टी आपकी है, आपकी चॉइस है कि आप किसी को कितनी भी दें, अकेले लड़के को दें, अकेली लड़की को दें, अपने बच्चों के अंदर इक्वल या जिस भी रेशियो में देना चाहे दें। इस तरीके से आपको इंडिविजुअल और एचयूएफ की प्रॉपर्टी के अंदर डिसाइड करना पड़ेगा। नाउ इश्यू आ रहा है कि क्या प्रॉपर्टी ही डिवाइड होगी, क्या लायबिलिटीज भी डिवाइड होगी, क्या आपकी इमोशनल जो डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन करने की इच्छा है वो भी डिसाइड होगी? तो सक्सेशन की प्लानिंग करते टाइम पे पर्सन को ये डिसाइड करना पड़ेगा कि मेरी फ्यूचर लाइफ, प्रेजेंट लाइफ और डेथ के बाद में मेरी फैमिली की लाइफ किस तरीके से रहेगी, कैसे रहेगी, क्या नहीं रहेगी। मान लीजिए कोई धर्मात्मा आदमी है और वो कहीं पे धर्मशाला बनाना चाहता है, कहीं मंदिर बनाना चाहता है, तो उसमें किसी का लेना देना नहीं है। अगर आपकी खुद की बनाई हुई प्रॉपर्टी है, खुद की कमाई हुई है, तो आप पहले उसमें डाल दीजिए। आपका डीड ही इस तरीके से लिखिए कि साहब मेरे इसके अंदर इतना तो मेरा चैरिटी में देना है, इतना मेरे को वेलफेयर के अंदर देना है, इतना मेरे बाकी कामों में देना है। अगर आपकी लायबिलिटीज ऐसी है कि अभी तो नहीं है, वो होने वाली है, तो आपके डॉक्यूमेंट में ये लिखा हुआ होना चाहिए कि मेरे इस प्रॉपर्टी से मेरी मेरी लायबिलिटी चुकेगी, उसके बाद में मेरा शेयर, बच्चों का शेयर इस तरीके से होगा। कुल मिला के कहानी ये है कि आपको आपके लाइफ टाइम में और लाइफ टाइम के बाद में सक्सेशन के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से कोई दिक्कत नहीं आए, परिवार का नाम चलता रहे, परिवार के सब लोग सुखी चलते रहे। मोटिव तो यही है सक्सेशन का। अब सवाल ये आ रहा है कि इस चीज को अगर अपन बहुत अच्छे तरीके से करें, आज के परिप्रेक्ष्य में करें, तो कैसे होगा? आजकल क्या हो रहा है साहब, आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस, ये जब एक्ट बना था उस वक्त नहीं थी। आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस ऐसा सब्जेक्ट हो गया जिसमें आपके पास में ब्रेन है और वो काम कर रहा है। तो आपने अपने ब्रेन से जो वेंचर किया है उसके ऊपर किसका हिस्सा आए परिवार में? बाकी के सब लोग तो पढ़े लिखे नहीं है, बाकी के सब लोग एंटरप्रेन्योर नहीं है, क्या कैसे करोगे? उसके पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से हम प्रोफेशनल्स को ये सोचना पड़ेगा इस आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस की जो एसेट क्रिएट हुई है वो कैसे मैनेज हो और कैसे आगे बढ़े। जोली साहब, आप तो एडवोकेट हैं, आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस के अंदर क्या करें? क्योंकि कोई चीज तो बन नहीं रही है और ब्रेन बन रहा है। आपका ब्रेन इतना फर्टाइल हो गया, आप तो पालकी वाला बन गए, आप तो सनत पी मेहता बन गए, आप तो बड़े बड़े बन गए। क्या पालकी वाला जी का ऑफिस तो चल रहा होगा, लेकिन पालकी वाला जी का ब्रेन किसी एडवोकेट के पास है क्या? वो नहीं है। तो ऐसी स्टेज में अगर आप हो, और भगवान आप सभी हो, मेरी मेरी ये आज दिवाली के ऊपर ये इच्छा है कि आप सारे के सारे पालकी वाला बनो। तो वो चीज अगर है तो हम क्या करें? उस लेवल का ब्रेन अगर हमारे पास में है तो हम कैसे बांटे? इस ब्रेन को तो हम नहीं बांट सकते। इसलिए ऐसी चीज हो, आपके पास में कुछ एक्वायर कर लिया हो, तो काइंडली फॉर्मूलाज क्रिएट कर लीजिए। ये मेरा आज का ही थॉट है और आपके सामने पहली बार प्रेजेंट कर रहा हूँ। फार्मूलाज क्या क्रिएट करेंगे? आपकी जो भी एसेट्स हैं, इस ब्रेन को केवल इसमें होने से कुछ नहीं होगा साहब, इस ब्रेन को अप्लाई करना पड़ेगा। इस ब्रेन का एप्लीकेशन करके अपनी एसेट्स क्रिएट कीजिए। कौन सी एसेट्स? मटेरियल एसेट्स से मतलब नहीं है, एक टीम क्रिएट कीजिए और उस टीम से आप कुछ ऐसा क्रिएट करें, ऐसा क्रिएट करें कि लिटरेचर क्रिएट हो जाए। अगर बड़े बड़े वैद्य और डॉक्टर्स ये चीजें नहीं लिखते तो मेडिसिन किसको मिलती? वही चीज आपको करनी पड़ेगी अगर आपको आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस क्रिएट करनी। इसका मतलब ये हो कि आपको एक टीम क्रिएट करनी पड़ेगी, एक कॉन्फ्रेंस क्रिएट करनी पड़ेगी, उसके अंदर आपको टीम क्रिएट करके अलग अलग लिटरेचर्स क्रिएट करने पड़ेंगे एंड उन लिटरेचर्स के बेस पे आपकी टीम आगे कमाती जाएगी और आपको रॉयल्टी मिलती जाएगी। वो रॉयल्टी आप अपने परिवार में बांट सकते हैं कि साहब इसको इतनी मिलेगी, इसको इतनी मिलेगी, इसको इतनी मिलेगी। ये आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस का है। और आजकल ये और चल रहा है, मोदी जी ने क्या चला रहा है, छोटे छोटे बिजनेस करवा रहे हैं ना।
हाँ, एक
स्टार्टअप। स्टार्टअप। अब स्टार्टअप की कहानी ये है, मैं पुरानी ट्रेडिशनल बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ, सब मैं करंट वाली बात कर रहा हूँ। स्टार्टअप की कहानी ये है कि अब इसमें तीनों चारों स्टेज आ सकती है, योर प्रोप्राइटरशिप, योर पार्टनरशिप, योर कंपनी। अगर स्टार्टअप में अगर आपने कुछ भी चीज क्रिएट करके काम को चालू किया है तो अगेन एक बात आ रही है कि डॉक्यूमेंटेशन में कहीं कमी नहीं होनी चाहिए, क्योंकि स्टार्टअप में आप भी ब्रेन वाले हैं, आपका दूसरा बंदा भी ब्रेन वाला है, तीसरा बंदा भी ब्रेन वाला है। अगर आपने लूज हैंड राइट अप कर लिया है अपने डीड का तो उसके अंदर आपका बिजनेस नहीं चल पाएगा। तो स्टार्टअप भी आप कर रहे हैं तो आपको अपना डॉक्यूमेंट पूरा सही तरीके से करना ही पड़ेगा। अब उस थ्योरी को आप भूल जाइए कि आपके क्लाइंट आपके पास में आ रहा है, वकील साहब मेरे लिए ये कागज तैयार कर देना, वो कर देना, ऐसा कभी मत करना। आप अपने क्लाइंट को बिठाइए, उससे 2-3-4 मीटिंग कीजिए, अपना ड्राफ्ट उसको दीजिए, इसकी बेस पे सोच ले, दोबारा ला रहा है दोबारा डिस्कस कीजिए। इस तरीके से अगर आपने उसके ड्राफ्ट को 5-6 बार कम से कम स्क्रीन कर लिया आपस के अंदर तो वो ड्राफ्ट बढ़िया बन जाएगा, उसके लिए हेल्पफुल हो जाएगी। वो क्लाइंट आपको बाहर जाके कहेगा कि हमारे तो वकील साहब इतने बढ़िया है कि हमारे लिए जिंदगी भर के लिए काम बढ़िया कर दिया। तो अगर आपको एज ए प्रोफेशनल आपको काम कमाना है, आपको नाम कमाना है, तो आपको ये डॉक्यूमेंटेशन जो भी है इसके अंदर बहुत ही अच्छे तरीके से काम करना। अदरवाइज तो आप रहेंगे या नहीं रहेंगे, मैं रहूंगा या नहीं रहूंगा, पीछे से गालियां ही सुननी पड़ेगी, डिस्प्यूट से खड़े होकर क्या जाए। कितना टाइम दोगे सर? 2-4 मिनट हो लेगा। हाँ नहीं, ज्यादा तो बोलना ही क्या है, सब लोग सब प्रोफेशनल को क्या सिखाना है।
सही बात, तनुज है।
हाँ, तनुज बैठे ही है। अब सवाल ये आ रहा है कि करंट सिनेरियो में और पास्ट सिनेरियो में क्या फर्क है। पास्ट सिनेरियो के लिए तो कंप्लीटली मेरे छोटे भाई, मेरे भतीजे तनुज जी बैठे हुए हैं, वो आपको कंप्लीटली बताएंगे। करंट सिनेरियो के अंदर आपको किसी भी तरीके से किसी से प्रेशर में नहीं आना, किसी से इंड्यूस नहीं होना। अगर आपको इवन असेसमेंट्स भी करवा रहे हैं, चाहे वो जीएसटी का हो चाहे इनकम टैक्स का हो, उस असेसमेंट के कराते टाइम पे भी आपको ये देखना चाहिए कि मैं कहीं ऐसी लाइबिलिटी को एक्सेप्ट ना कर लूं कि वो मेरे आगे वाली पीढ़ियों के लिए एक बहुत बड़ा बर्डन खड़ा हो जाए। इसलिए आपको कॉन्फिडेंस के साथ में अपने असेसमेंट प्रोसीडिंग्स को, अपीलेट प्रोसीडिंग्स को, इनको भी करनी चाहिए। अगर कहीं पे हमने गलती कर दी तो गलत डिमांड्स आ जाएंगी और परेशानी हो जाएगी। इसलिए एज ए प्रोफेशनल हमें किसी भी हालत में किसी भी लेवल पे फालतू की लाइबिलिटीज क्रिएट नहीं करनी है और अपने बच्चों के लिए ऐसा बढ़िया आप लाइफ छोड़ करके जाओ कि वो लोग भी सुखी रहें और आपको हमेशा के लिए अच्छा ही बताएं। दोस्तों, बातें करने के लिए बहुत होती है, प्रैक्टिकल लाइफ के अंदर बहुत परेशानियां आती है। आप अपने घर में हैं, अपने घर के अंदर अपने बच्चे की नीड्स को पूरी नहीं कर सकते, उसकी डिमांड है मेरे को तो ये कमरा मिलना चाहिए, मेरे को तो ये हॉल मिलना चाहिए, मेरे को तो ये दुकान का हिस्सा इतना मिलना चाहिए। क्या करेंगे ऐसे टाइम पे आप? और एक बच्चा हो तो ठीक है, एक से ज्यादा हो तो ठीक है, ज्यादा हो तो क्या करोगे? क्या रामगंज बाजार में इनमें कहीं में देख रहा हूं मैं, एक एक दुकान के दो दो टुकड़े बीच में पार्टीशन लगा करके दोनों साइड के ऊपर अलग अलग हो रहे हैं, और बड़ी शाम की नाम की दुकान की थी, उनके टुकड़े हो रहे हैं। क्या करें ऐसी जगह पे? वो तो आकर के आपको ही कहेंगे कि साहब हमारा कुछ सुलटारा कराओ। क्या करेंगे? क्या उनको फ्रीली कह देंगे कि आप टुकड़े कर लो? आप प्रोफेशनल हैं, आप प्रैक्टिकली वो आपको आपके घर का बंदा समझता है, घर का आदमी समझता है। पहले तो उनको बैठ के समझाइए, ये डिसाइड कर लीजिए, फिर उसके बाद में उनका सही सही बेसिस पे डिवीजन करके और फिर उनको फ्री करिए, जिससे आपस में झगड़े भी नहीं रहे, आपकी इज्जत भी रहे। आप प्रोफेशनल वकील तो आप दोनों के रहोगे, तो आप आगे भी ढंग ढंग से काम करवा सकते। तो सक्सेशन का मतलब ये है हाउ टू सक्सीड। जो भी आपके पास में आज की तारीख में है, आप उससे ज्यादा कुछ नहीं दे सकते जो आपकी तारीख में है, चाहे गुडविल हो, चाहे पैसा हो, चाहे प्रॉपर्टी हो, चाहे कुछ भी हो। तो उससे ज्यादा आप कुछ नहीं दे सकते। तो आप जो बांटना चाहते हैं, जो आप खुद के हिसाब से बांटना चाहते हैं, वो इस तरह से बांटिए कि घर में भी सामंजस्य रहे, व्यापार भी बढ़ता रहे, और आप भी आगे बढ़ते चलिए। मेरे ख्याल में मैंने टाइम काफी ले लिया। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
थैंक यू सर।
थैंक यू सो मच सर। सर हम दोनों साथ में ही बैठे हुए हैं, तो आपस में सीट अदला बदली हो रही है। बहुत बड़ी ज्ञान की बातें हमको सर ने बताई। सक्सेशन प्लानिंग मीन्स, अभी तनुज भाई बताएंगे, सेलेक्टिंग ऑफ अ राइट पर्सन एट अ राइट प्लेस एट अ राइट टाइम। आपको ये चीजें, तीन चीजें ध्यान में रखनी होती है कि आपके जो भी सक्सेशन डीड या जो भी चीजें आप लिख रहे हैं या जो भी कर रहे हैं, उसमें सही आदमी का चुनाव हो, सही जगह चुनाव और सही समय पे चुनाव। मोर डिटेल में तनुज भाई बताएंगे। तनुज भाई, जैसे मैंने बताया, तनुज भाई इज अ चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट और एडवोकेट बाय प्रोफेशन। ही इज प्रैक्टिसिंग इन हाई कोर्ट। लेकिन मैं बहुत अच्छे से तनुज भाई को जानता हूँ, पिछले 25 सालों से मैं तनुज भाई को जानता हूँ, लेकिन हमारे बाकी साथी लोग तनुज भाई को उतना नहीं जानते। तो फॉर मोर डिटेल आई वुड रिक्वेस्ट राजेंद्र अग्रवाल जी टू काइंडली इंट्रोड्यूस आवर टुडेज स्पीकर तनुज भाई। तनुज अग्रवाल, श्री राजेंद्र अग्रवाल जी, प्लीज।
सभी को नमस्कार। दिवाली की बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं। आरटीसीए, टीसीए और एआईएफटीपी द्वारा आयोजित की जा रही 10 दिवसीय इस वेब सीरीज में आज छठे दिन जो सक्सेशन प्लानिंग का जो सब्जेक्ट है, उसमें हमारे विशेषज्ञ के रूप में तनुज अग्रवाल जी हैं। उनका ब्रीफ इंट्रोडक्शन मैं आपके सामने प्रस्तुत कर रहा हूँ। आप बाई प्रोफेशन लॉयर हैं और जयपुर में ही आपका जन्म हुआ है, जयपुर में ही पले बढ़े हैं आप। आपकी स्कूलिंग विद्याश्रम स्कूल से हुई है और 10th सीबीएसई बोर्ड में आपने मेरिट आपको मिली थी। एलएलएम के अलावा आप सीए, सीएस और सीएमए की प्रोफेशनल डिग्री आपके पास है। सीएमए में आपने ऑल इंडिया स्तर पर तीसरा स्थान प्राप्त किया था और नॉर्थ इंडिया में आपकी फर्स्ट रैंक रही थी। और पोस्ट ग्रेजुएशन डिप्लोमा इन टैक्सेशन लॉ और फाइनेंशियल एनालिसिस एंड कंट्रोल में आप राजस्थान यूनिवर्सिटी के टॉपर रहे हैं, फर्स्ट रैंक रही है आपकी। आप टैक्सेशन के अलावा बिजनेस एंड कॉर्पोरेट लिटिगेशन के मामले आप देखते हैं और सभी अपीलेट स्तर पर आप ये काम कर रहे हैं, सुप्रीम कोर्ट तक आप ये देख रहे हैं। आपकी जो फर्म है यथार्थ लॉ चैम्बर के द्वारा आप ये कर रहे हैं। तनुज अग्रवाल जी विभिन्न पोजीशंस पे कई संगठनों से आप जुड़े हुए हैं। टीसीए के आप एग्जीक्यूटिव मेंबर हैं और एमसीए जयपुर चैप्टर के आप ट्रेजरर, जॉइंट सेक्रेटरी और रहे हैं और प्रोफेशनल डेवलपमेंट कमेटी के आप चेयरमैन रहे हैं। इसके अलावा आप जेसीआई जयपुर ओएसिस के आप प्रेसिडेंट रहे हैं। इसके अलावा विभिन्न सामाजिक संगठनों से आप जुड़े हुए हैं और इसके अलावा विभिन्न सेमिनार्स और वेबिनार्स में टैक्सेशन और बिजनेस लॉ और सक्सेशन पे आप अपने विषय पे पेपर प्रस्तुत करते रहे हैं। मैं ये टीसीए, आरटीसीए सभी का धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूं कि ऐसी पर्सनालिटी का इंट्रोडक्शन करने का मुझे अवसर मिला। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। रतन गोयल जी को मैं और वापस दे रहा हूं।
थैंक यू राजेंद्र जी, थैंक यू सो मच। मैं तनुज भाई से निवेदन करूंगा कि वो अपना प्रेजेंटेशन चालू करे। तनुज अग्रवाल जी।
Thank you, sir. At the outset, I extend my hearty wishes on the pious occasion of Deepavali. Simultaneously, I also wish my advance apology to all of you because on this auspicious day of Deepavali, I will be talking about the bitter truth of life, which is death. Shri R.K. Gurwara sir, past president of RTCA and keynote speaker of today, he always blesses me whenever he meets. Shri Vinay Kumar Jolly ji, president of RTCA, Shri Ratanlal Goyal ji, general secretary of RTCA, other organizing associations, and dear professional brothers and sisters. A very good evening to one and all present here. Is my screen visible to all of you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please carry on.
Thank you.
Continue.
Thank you, sir. So let's take blessing of Ma Mahalakshmi and Goddess Saraswati and let's start this presentation. What is the biggest truth of life? It is death. I am playing one audio for you.
Yeah. Audible, audible.
जिंदगी और मौत ऊपर वाले के हाथ है जहां पना उसे ना तो आप बदल सकते हैं ना मैं हम सब तो रंगमंच की कठपुतलियां हैं जिनकी डोर ऊपर वाले की उंगलियों में बंधी है कब कौन कैसे उठेगा ये कोई नहीं बता सकता है हा, 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 हा.
This was a famous dialogue from the movie Anand. इंसान जीता ऐसे है कि कभी मरेगा ही नहीं और मरता ऐसे है कि कभी जिया ही नहीं. So this is the bitter truth of life. फ्यूचर इज ऑलवेज अनसर्टेन. कल क्या होगा कोई कुछ नहीं कह सकता. कल हो ना हो. ओनली वन थिंग इज सर्टेन इन दिस वर्ल्ड एंड दैट थिंग इज द फैक्ट दैट एवरीथिंग इज अनसर्टेन इन दिस वर्ल्ड. वी ऑल हैव सीन COVID-19 2 years back. It was a disaster. It impacted some of us in a lighter way, but for some of us the family vanished. I have seen families in COVID-19 during the second wave particularly, where all male members of the family died, only females were left. So though succession is planning is important before COVID-19 also, but after COVID-19 and its impact, people realize that succession planning is also very crucial. We all plan our wealth. What will happen to our profession? What will happen to our finances, to our family? If we don't do proper succession planning, there will be disputes between our legal heirs, between our family. आज dispute नहीं है, लेकिन हमने succession planning नहीं किया तो dispute हम छोड़ के जा रहे हैं. There will be disputes between outsiders and our family, our legal heirs. For example, tenant, partners. This we will discuss later in the slides. What will happen to our business or profession? It will collapse. What will happen to our investments? It will be a loss, either partial or total. And our family, our beloved family, our legal heirs, they will face huge complications in transfer and transmissions of assets and investments due to the rigorous succession laws and procedures. The succession planning is thus a part of wealth planning. What is succession? The technical definition is transfer and transmission of assets, rights, and liabilities and obligations of a person to his or her legal heir at the event of his or her death. Two main options are available in succession. One is no will. In technical terms, we call it intestate succession, where a person dies without leaving any will. And the other option is the second option. It is testamentary succession in technical terms, where a person makes a will during his lifetime, which is executed at the time of his death. So this is the master slide here. In case of testamentary or intestate succession, the succession laws will depend upon the religion of the person. In case of testamentary succession, that is where a person leaves will. In case of Muslims, the Muslim law apply. And in all other cases, be it a Hindu, Jain, Sikh, Buddhist, Christian, Parsi or Jew, the Indian Succession Act 1925 applies. And in case there is no will, that is interstate succession, then for Hindu, Jain, Sikhs, and Buddhist, Hindu Succession Act 1956 apply. The provisions we will see in detail. And for Christian, Parsi, and Jew, Indian Succession Act 1925 applies. And for Muslims, the Muslim law, the Shariat law apply. So which is the right option? Testamentary succession or interstate succession? Let's see. With will or without will? So let us discuss some case studies here. Case study number 1. Mr. A, 28 years of age. He was recently married. He dies, leaving behind his father. His mother has already expired. His younger unmarried sister and his wife. So my question is, to whom, assuming he is a Hindu, to whom Hindu Succession Act 1956 apply. And the second assumption is there is no will. It is a case of interstate succession, interstate death. So you may write your answers in the chat box. The chat box is open. According to you, to whom the property will go of Mr. A. The chat box is open.
Kindly write your answers in the chat box. Yes or no? Matlab name of the successor. Kindly write. Audience, please kindly write.
The answer may be right or wrong. That we will discuss.
Yeah. Write the answer.
Because these Hindu Succession Act are taught in law course, but not in chartered accountancy. In chartered accountancy course, only taxation laws, corporate laws, auditing, accounting, these subjects are being taught.
Tanuji, mostly people are saying wife.
Yes, most people are writing wife.
Yes.
I will give this answer later on. Let's go back to the next case study. Case study number 2. A widow, a businesswoman. She dies, leaving behind her 23 years old son, who is a drug addict. His father-in-law and mother-in-law, both are senior citizens. So on her death, where the property will go? To whom? Again, the chat box is open. The August gathering may use the chat box for writing the reply.
Son.
Again,
son,
son.
Definitely.
In favor of son.
Son.
So case study number 3. This one is slightly typical. A millionaire couple dies in a road accident, leaving behind mother of the husband, minor daughter, and brother of the husband. Brother of a husband is a notorious person. He is living separately. And after hearing the unfortunate news of the accident, the mother also dies due to trauma. Mother of the husband dies.
Minor daughter. Minor daughter.
Minor daughter.
He is saying minor daughter.
Yes.
Let me also check the chat box. Okay. So next case study number 4. A married lady, she left her husband's home within 7 days of marriage due to matrimonial disputes. She has not taken divorce. And since then, even after 15 years, she is living and earning separately with her own parents. And she now dies, leaving behind her father, her mother, and her husband, whom she abandoned 15 years ago. 15 साल से शक्ल भी नहीं देखी उसकी. Now, to whom the property will go, as per Hindu Succession Act?
Nominee is there. Nominee is there.
No, nomination is not the case here. होगा भी या नहीं होगा, that nomination we will discuss it later.
If the divorce is not there, taken place her husband.
Then.
Yes, let me also check the chat box if there is any other answer. Ajay Jain sir is writing father and mother. Okay. So let's go to case study number 5. A businessman, his wife has already expired. He is around 55 years of age. He wished to purchase a house, and he is short of funds, so he want to take loan. But the bank refused, considering his age of 55 years. So now what he did? He took his newly married son as joint owner in the property as well as in the loan, and took the bank loan. Unfortunately, his son dies in an accident. So to whom the property will go?
His wife.
Okay. So let's go ahead. So before analyzing these case studies, we have to study the provisions of law. Okay, what are the provisions of law? In case of interstate succession, Hindu Succession Act has separate provisions for males as well as for females. So first we will discuss the provisions related to males. Interstate succession, Hindu Succession Act 1956, which applies to Hindus, Jain, Sikhs and Buddhists. So there are different classes there. Class 1 years. So what is class 1 years? We will discuss in the later slides to come. But the property will go to class 1 years if there are class 1 years. If there are no class 1 years, then the property will go to class 2 years.
Right.
If there are no class 1 years and no class 2 years, then the property will go to agnate. If there are no class 1 years, class 2 years agnate, then the property will go to cognate. And if these 4 categories are not there, then the property will go to government. Now, who are covered in class 1 years? In case of a Hindu male, so this is the list. Widow. Widow means wife, mother, sons, and daughters. The ratio here is equal in case of a Hindu male. Interstate succession. So, for example, if there is one wife, one mother, and one child, maybe a son or daughter, then the property will be divided into 3 equal parts. That is 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, 33.33%. Because there are 3 class 1 years here. In case only wife is there, no mother, no child, then the entire property will go to wife. In case there are one wife and two children, one son and one daughter, then again 3 parts. The interesting thing here, kindly note, father is not there in class 1 year list. Because when in 1956 Hindu Succession Act was enacted, at that time father was holding much. He was financially capable. सब सुनते थे father की, तो hold रहता था. That was the reason why कि father is not in class 1 years list. So this is all about class 1 year, section 9 of Hindu Succession Act. Let's go to class 1 year. Oh, one more slide is there. So in case son is already expired. Now what will these are other relatives of class 1 year. Son of a predeceased son, daughter of a predeceased son, son of a predeceased daughter, daughter of a predeceased daughter, widow of a predeceased son. Meaning thereby, if there is no son, son has already expired and now the father expired, but son has wife and children. So what will how will the proceed? The intersuccession proceed. The share of son will be divided equally among his legal heirs. For example, there is one wife and one son in the family, and but the son has already expired, and son leaves behind his son and daughter and wife. हिंदी में बोलूं तो कि माता जी हैं, मतलब उसकी वाइफ है, उनका बच्चा है जो बच्चे की तो डेथ हो गई, और बच्चे की बहू है, बच्चे की मतलब वाइफ है जो उनकी बहू हो गई, और पोता पोती हो गए. तो फैमिली में 4 जने बचे आफ्टर हिज डेथ. दैट इज हिज वाइफ, बहू,
पोता पोती.
बहू का मतलब कि सन की वाइफ, सन ऑलरेडी एक्सपायर्ड, और पोता पोती मीन्स ग्रैंड चिल्ड्रन. तो now the property will go, there will be two shares, one of mother, one of widow and one of son. So the 50% will go to widow, जो उसकी खुद की wife थी, and 50% will go to son, but son has already expired. Now son has 3 class 1 years. First is his wife, मतलब बहू, और पोता पोती मतलब son के बच्चे. तो 1/3 will go to wife and 2 children, meaning thereby 1/6, क्योंकि half share तो already mother के पास चला गया, जो उसकी wife थी. So this is how the, in case of interstate succession Hindu male class 1 years list will go. So now what if there are 2 widows, 2 wife थी, तो हिंदू सक्सेशन एक्ट सेक्शन 8 says नो, चाइल्ड के लिए तो अलग अलग प्रोविजन है कि चाइल्ड विल गेट सेपरेट शेयर, बट विडोज कंबाइंड विल गेट वन शेयर. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, देयर आर 2 wives and 2 sons. So for both the widows, 1/3 share will be there, because combinedly they will be considered as one legal heir. And for the 2 sons, 1/3 ratio is there. The rule number 2, surviving sons and daughters and mother take 1 share each, which I have already discussed. Rule number 3, the heirs in the branch of each predeceased son or each predeceased daughter of the intestate shall take between them 1 share. That this I have already discussed. Rule 4, among the heirs in the branch of predeceased sons shall be so much that his widow and the surviving sons and daughters get equal portion, and the branch of his predeceased sons get the same portion. This I have already discussed by way of this example. Now, coming to the class 2 heirs list. Assuming there are no class 1 heirs, meaning thereby
Excuse me,
there
sir.
is no mother, there is no wife, there are no children. Now the property will go to whom? The property, all the assets and liabilities will go to class 2 heirs list, in which the first name is father. Father is here now. There is one difference between class 1 heirs list and class 2 heirs list. In class 1 heir list, the ratio is equal. But in case of class 2 heirs list, it is on the basis of entry. Earlier entry will get preference over the subsequent entry. Meaning thereby if father is there, the entire assets and liabilities will go to father. उसके नीचे की list देखने की जरूरत ही नहीं है. If father is not there, neither there are any class 1 heirs and father is also not there, then the property will go to whom? Then it will go to class 2 heirs second entry, which is sons, daughter, sons, sons, daughter, daughter, brother and sisters. See, siblings are here. So among this particular entry 2, the ratio will be equal. So assuming there is no father, there is no mother, and he is unmarried, and children are not there, siblings are there, the entire property in such a case will go to the siblings. If there are 4 brothers and 1 sister, 1/5 ratio. Maybe the brothers are married, the sisters are married, that is immaterial here. So if class 1 heir is not there, class 2 heirs is not there, first entry, second entry is not there, then the entire property and all the assets will go to class 2 heirs entry number 3, which is daughter, son, son, daughter, son, daughter, daughter, son, daughter, 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 and similarly. उसके बाद में भाई के बच्चे आ गए, फादर के फादर मतलब ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स आ गए. तो how this is how the chain will go. If there are no class 1 heirs and there are no class 2 heirs also, then the property will go to agnates. Who are agnates? It is father side relative by birth, by blood. Meaning thereby first cousin हो गया आपका, father का brother का son, मतलब first cousin आपका. And if there are no agnates also, then to cognates. Cognates are mother's second cousin. So now, if we assume that there are no class 1 heirs, no class 2 heirs, no agnates, no cognates, then in such case the property will go to the government. It is central government of India, and not the state government, because Hindu Succession Act 1956 is a central law. One interesting thing is there, stepson is not a class 1 heir. By stepson we mean सौतेला बेटा, मतलब दूसरी शादी से बेटा था जो उसके वाइफ के फर्स्ट हस्बैंड से था. तो stepson is not class 1 heir, but illegitimate son is class 1 heir. मतलब विदाउट मैरिज से अगर कोई बच्चा होता है तो फिर इट इज कंसिडर्ड एज अ क्लास 1 heir because it is the natural born son. In case of more than one wife, this I have already covered, कि all the wives together will get 1 share. Now, one interesting thing is there, Section 20, Hindu Succession Act 1956, which gives right to child in womb. For example, at the time of death of a person, his wife was pregnant and she was holding a child in her womb. So that child is considered as a natural born child, provided that at the time of delivery he survives. So इसका भी एक share बनेगा, though he is not born yet and he is not seen the world yet. For example, if a person dies, leaving behind his wife,
Pregnant.
who is pregnant, and mother. So there will be 3 shares, one of mother, one of wife, and one of unborn child, provided that he survives at the time of delivery. So this was all about Hindu males who died intestate. There are separate rules, as I already said, for males and females. Now we will discuss the rules for females. Section 13 of Hindu Succession Act 1956. Here there is slightly different. For females, rules are different. For females, the entire property will go to the sons, daughters, and husband. It is not equal between all these 5. If anyone is there, sons, daughters, and husband, then the property will be divided between these people, though equally. In case son has already expired, but he has wife or children, then the share of son will be taken by the wife and children in equal ratio. Only his share. So this is similar like in case of Hindu males. Suppose there are no sons, daughters, and husband. They have already expired, or children were not born. Husband has expired. Then to whom the property will go? The property will go to the next class. That is heirs of the husband. Heirs of the husband means the relatives of the husband. If there are no relatives of the husband, then the property will go to mother and father. Mother and father उसके मैके की side से, मायके की side से. If there are mother and father are also not there, then to heirs of father. If there are no heirs of father, then ultimately to the heirs of mother. There is one exception in case of females. If the property is inherited from the side of his maika, from her maika, मतलब parents की side से अगर उसकी आई है, and she dies without leaving any children, husband may be there, then the property will revert back to maika, मतलब father की side पे जाएगा. And in case the property is inherited from the side of husband, then the property will revert to the side of husband side. In case of females, whether the property is self-acquired or it is inherited or it is received by way of gift, partition, in lieu of maintenance, Tridan, before marriage, after marriage, through a skill, purchase, or her own earnings, whether the property is movable or immovable, all these are covered in case of female interstate succession by way of section 12. Now let's come back to the case studies which we discussed, which is the right option. In case of interstate succession, there is no will. The Hindu Succession Act will apply. The law will take over the choice of the person because he or she has not exercised any choice by writing any will. So there is no choice, the law will take over. In case of testamentary succession, where a choice has been exercised by the deceased, the Indian Succession Act 1925 will apply and law will not take over. His or her choice will take over. So let's go back to the case studies. Case study number 1. Mr. A, who expired at the young age of 28 years and leaving behind his father, mother has already expired, younger unmarried sister and wife. So the entire property according to Hindu Succession Act will go to wife because father is class 2 year, not class 1 year. And unmarried sister is also class 2 years, entry number 2. So see the tragedy here. He is recently married. The wife has huge life to go. She will remarry another person. And what about the father and unmarried sister? Who will take care of them? Analyze the situation. He might have taken a loan on his property or might have disposed some assets for higher education of his son, who is now the earning member here. Father has a liability of his unmarried sister. So where will the property will go? The wife will take away all the property. इनको क्या मिला? So that's why we have to be very vigilant. At 28 years of age, he was not envisaging a situation, the deceased son, he may expire. But life is very uncertain. We have recently seen the example of the famous TV actor I am forgetting his name. He died. I remember. Siddharth Shukla, late Siddharth Shukla. He expired at the age of 40. He was fit and fine. He died naturally. And one more case is there of Punjabi singer Sidhu Moosewala. Though unfortunately he died not a natural death, but he expired at the age of 29. So life from his business, from his husband, business from his husband, and now where the property will go? The entire property assets will go to the 23 years old son. वो तो सारा उड़ा देगा नशे में. Father in law, mother in law, उसको क्या मिला? कुछ भी नहीं मिला. Because in case of section 13, in case of female, as we already discussed, the entire property will go to husband or children. Since husband is not there, the entire property will go to wife. To go to son. Yes. See the trauma here. जो अपने बच्चे का असेट्स थे, जो उसने हार्ड वर्क करके कमाया, जो वाइफ को मिला, और वाइफ के बाद में सीधा सन को चला गया. Because the husband and the wife all were busy in business. They had not emphasized a situation कि death may come anytime. Death may knock the door. यमराज कोई निमंत्रण से नहीं आते हैं. Case study number 3. A millionaire couple who died in a road accident, leaving behind mother, minor daughter, and brother. Brother is living separately. So now whom the property will go? There are two situations here. Two events rather. At the first event, the millionaire couple died. So who are the class 1 years here? Mother and children. 50% of the property will go to mother of the husband and 50% will go to minor daughter. But thereafter, hearing the unfortunate news of accident and death, mother also expired. So now for mother, who are the legal heirs?
Minor
Again, the second son, who is a notorious person. So 50% of the property will go to him and 50% to predeceased son's daughter, that is minor. So indirectly what happens? 25% of the property of this millionaire couple will go to brother. And the more worst part is, in each and every property, he will get 25% share. For example, उनका house था, house में भी brother का 25% हिस्सा हो गया. It is not that there is some segregation. Segregation is not there. उसकी factory थी, so now in factory also he will get 25% share. So in each and every asset, whether bank account, movable asset, immovable asset, jewelry, 25% undivided share is of brother.
Whatever belongs to mother, then he'll got the 50% share from the mother.
Yes, 50% share from mother. 50-50 means 25% आ गया.
Right, 50 means 25%. Right, in total.
मदर को कैसे जाएगा? मदर को कैसे जाएगा? माइनर डॉटर को ही तो जाएगा. उसका संरक्षक हो सकता है.
सर फर्स्ट डिवीजन
मदर मींस मदर अब उसकी दादी. मदर कपल की डेथ हो गई.
जी सर.
तो वो दादी की बात हो रही है.
मदर कपल की डेथ हुई. कपल की डेथ में पहले मदर को 50% मिला, माइनर डॉटर को 50% मिला. तो मदर होल्ड्स द 50% शेयर. मदर की डेथ होगी जिसके पास 50% था.
दादी की प्रॉपर्टी की बात कर रहे हो क्या?
हाँ, मदर मींस
उसके कपल.
हाँ,
दादी की प्रॉपर्टी थी ये.
बोथ हस्बैंड एंड वाइफ एक्सपायर्ड.
नहीं, प्रॉपर्टी दादी की थी या
हस्बैंड वाइफ की थी.
तो हस्बैंड वाइफ में तो सर डॉटर को ही जाएगी ना सर.
See the class 1 years. Mother is in class 1 year. Who are class 1 year?
वो देखना पड़ेगा ना सर, सक्सेशन का लॉ पढ़ना पड़ेगा.
So I am coming back to this slide.
Yes, वो स्लाइड दिखाइए सर. Yes, class 1.
These are class 1 years. Widow, mother, sons and daughters. So in this case, widow has also expired. So
yes,
mother is there. So 50% of the property will go to mother. There are no sons, only one daughter is there. So now there are two class 1 years. One is mother and one is daughter, minor daughter. 50-50 will divide. Now if the mother expires, so to whom it will go? Sons and daughters. So she has one surviving son. So 50%, one surviving son.
Which may be notorious, but जाएगा तो सही ना.
Relative of the surviving son.
Yeah.
So 50%
may be notorious or obedient.
Yes, yes. So let's come back again. So case study number 4. A married lady, she left her husband's home due to matrimonial disputes within 7 days of marriage, but she has not taken divorce. And she is living and earning separately since last 15 years, and she has made good wealth. She has in her family her old father and old mother. Husband is also there. उसकी जो शक्ल भी नहीं देखी होगी 15 साल से. Unfortunately, now she expired. आजकल स्टार्टअप बहुत चल रहे हैं सर. 15 years में करोड़ों की वेल्थ हो सकती है. So now the property will go to whom? Remember section 13. The entire property will go to husband, children, husband. They will get preference as per section 13. So the entire property will go to husband. See the unfortunate part. Father and mother को क्या मिला? Nothing. And
बट सर ये 7 ईयर से ऊपर हो गया है ना. सेक्शन 13 में 7 ईयर से ऊपर होते ही तलाक हो जाता है वो.
नहीं. For that you have to apply. कोई तैयार ही नहीं है तलाक देने को. वो तो कहती है कि मैं सुहागा नहीं मरना चाहती हूँ. मैं क्यों डिवोर्स का टैग लगाऊं मेरे ऊपर? उसने डिवोर्स लिया ही नहीं. डिवोर्स कब लेता है इंसान? जब सेकंड मैरिज करनी है. उसको सेकंड मैरिज करनी ही नहीं थी. उसने कहा चलने तो देखा जाएगा. So that 7 years concept does not apply in the Hindu succession Act section 13. So technically she is still married to her husband. Maybe for 15 years or more they are not living together as husband wife. So the entire property will go to husband. Nothing will go to mother or father. Now one interesting thing is, suppose the husband has also expired. Now to whom the property will go? It will go to the heirs of husband. अगर देवर है उसका कोई तो देवर को चली जाएगी. फादर मदर को तो फिर भी नहीं जाएगी. I come back to the slide. See of that lady.
सब गलत हाथों में चलेगी सर.
See the condition of the judge. He knows who is the real owner, but he is bound by the 4 corners of law. He has to write judgment as per the law. He is bound by the law. He cannot go beyond the law. Case study number 5. A businessman, he dies. A businessman took loan, and by adding his son in the property as well as loan, because he was not getting loan. Now, unfortunately, his son was recently married and he died. So 50% of the property, since he is the owner and he is alive, he will get. वो तो उसी की थी, उसी के पास ही है. But the remaining 50%, his wife will take. And there is undivided portion. वो बेच भी नहीं सकता उस प्रॉपर्टी को, because 50% share is that of wife. So it is very difficult situation. So these are some of the limitations of intestate succession. Now we have analyzed all these. There will be disputes between the legal heirs. Even if there were no disputes, the disputes will start and the family will ruin. What happens in our traditional family is sitting on the dining table while eating dinner. The entire family, what father says, कि ऐसा है कि अगर मैं कभी मर जाऊं तो ऐसा करना, ये वाला बिजनेस सन ए ले लेना, बी वाला ये दूसरा बिजनेस सन बी, और ये प्रॉपर्टी हाउस प्रॉपर्टी नंबर 1 सन ए विल टेक, हाउस प्रॉपर्टी नंबर 2 सन बी को दे देना, और दोनों मिलके वाइफ का मतलब मदर का ध्यान रखना. तो व्हाट पीपल से एट दैट टाइम, वाइफ विल से, क्यों जी मरने की बात क्यों कर रहे हो डाइनिंग टेबल पे, अभी तो आपको 100 साल जीना है. बच्चे भी यही कहते हैं, पापा ऐसी बातें मत करो, अभी तो आपको बहुत जीना है और आप कोई टेंशन वगैरह मत करो. बट व्हाट हैपेंस व्हेन ही डाइज, तो सब चेंज हो जाती है सिचुएशन. हु विल टेक केयर ऑफ द पुअर लेडी इवन इफ द सन आर विलिंग. लेकिन सन्स की वाइफ भी तो है, सन के बच्चे भी हैं. तो द सिचुएशन चेंज. Law will take over. See, law makes no distinction between worthy son and unworthy son. If there are 2 sons, one is wealthy, but he has not seen the face of his father for last 20 years. He is living somewhere in Hong Kong or USA. He is very wealthy. He is not visited his father due to some disputes with him. And another son, he is somehow making his living and also take care of his father by limited means. But what happens if he dies intestate? The entire property will be divided in two sons. Law makes no distinction between worthy son, layak beta, या unworthy son, na layak beta. 50-50. That's it. So in that case, choice has to be exercised. We cannot leave everything on the law. Deserving relatives may get neglected and undeserving may enjoy. Like we have seen the 23 years old son drug addict, the newly married wife, or the brother of husband who is a notorious person. Also, undue advantages are taken by third parties. For example, tenant. What the tenant will say? First you decide the disputes between the family to whom I have to pay the rent. Son A says, I will take the rent. Son B says, no, I will take the rent. I am the owner. The tenant says, first you decide amongst yourselves. I will put the rent on hold, and after you have decided, then I will release the rent. And the disputes take years to resolve. Who is enjoying? Tenant. Who is suffering? The family. Similarly, in case of partnership firms, partners enjoy the disputes between the family. One important thing here is that cost, time, and energy of the legal years is wasted in transfer and transmission of assets. Someone is saying ki go get the succession certificate. Someone is saying ki go get probate. Possibility of notice assets can't be ignored. एक बैंक लॉकर था जिसमें वैल्यूएबल्स पड़े थे, and it was not in the knowledge of any family member. It will get unnoticed. In banks, huge amount of unnoticed assets are there, maybe in the form of FDRs or maybe in the forms of bank lockers. Crores of assets are like there. If there is no will, अगर will होती तो ये उसमें will में लिख देता. Will थी नहीं तो फिर unnoticed रह गए. Cross ownership of assets. Cross ownership of assets means if one person is residing in one property or using one property, he is in possession and using that property, but ownership is with other person. For example, son B के पास में ownership है and possession son A के पास में. So this is cross ownership and vice versa. So these problems arise. Distress sale of assets. In case of disputes between the legal heir, so the property is sold at a discounted price. This is called distress sale. और बिजनेस में तो क्या होगा? Business will collapse. So that's why succession planning is needed. There is an old English saying that failing to plans means planning to fail. We all plan our time, we all plan our business, finances, retirement, we even plan our vacations. कि यहाँ जाना है, यहाँ रुकेंगे, यहाँ पे घूमेंगे, इतने दिन में यहाँ ऐसे ऐसे जाना है. So we plan very minutely our vacations. But what about succession? When it comes to succession, we don't plan. Do we really care about succession planning? I think no. Don't leave everything in law. Let your own choice and wisdom prevail. Otherwise, law will make no distinction. This is the golden rule. Anticipate your debt today and review on every birthday. Birthday is for party, yes. But birthday is also for reviewing your succession. Anticipate your debt today. Today, if I expire, as per Hindu Succession Act, since I do not have any will, what will happen? What will happen to my assets? To whom it will go? What will happen to my business? Whether my legal heirs will face any complications, any complexities due to procedures, complications, or whether they will get my assets and enjoy my assets and properties without any hassles. And this thing has to be reviewed on every birthday. Even if you have made your will, then review it on every birthday. Whether any corrections are required, there may be some situation कि you have purchased some additional property, or maybe your beneficiary has already expired. So it's time to review your will. So this is the biggest thing we all earn for our family. But this thing is also important, earning your family and succession planning, so that it helps your family to get your assets after you leave this world. Now, what is will? According to Section 2H of Indian Succession Act 1925, now we are covering testamentary succession. Either two, we have discussed the intestate succession part where there was no will. Now we are discussing where there is will. So will is what? Will is the intention of the testator with respect to his property and liabilities which he desired to be carried out after his death. So in simple terms, it is his intention कि how at the time of his death his assets and liabilities will be divided amongst his family members. There are some terms in testamentary succession. First is testator. Testator is a person who makes will. He is the author of the will. In case of females, it is called testatrix. The second term is executor or administrator. He is the person or institution who is appointed by the testator to carry out the terms of the will. मतलब वो चलाएगा, will को execute करेगा. So now here the role of chartered accountants also come. Chartered accountants, tax professionals, advocates, they can be executor and administrator of will of their clients, for which they can also charge fees. And they must charge fees for this. Beneficiary. Beneficiary is the person to whom at the time of death of the testator, assets and liabilities have to be transferred. Beneficiary are the legal heirs to whom the assets are given. Codicil. Codicil is an additional supplement that explains, modifies or revokes a will of part 1 of it. So in simple terms, it is just like a supplementary partnership deed, where the entire deed is not amended, only the some terms are added or modified. So it is in the nature of amendment of will. So what are the steps in making a will? The first step is consulting. You have to consult, you have to read the mind of the testator, what he wants, you have to advise him. Second point is drafting. As Gurwala sir said in the beginning in his keynote address, drafting is very important, drafting of agreements. And drafting of will is even more important. Otherwise, what will happen? It will turn hazardous at the time of death. Disputes will arise. Third point is appoint executor. These all things we will discuss in detail in the slides to come. Next part is signing of the will, including thumb mark at all the pages. It should be dated before 2 independent witnesses. The will should be kept in safe custody so that at the time of death it is unearthed and brought to the surface. अगर कोई will बनाई है कि that can't be located, then it is futile. मालूम ही नहीं पड़ा will है. So in case of testamentary succession, it becomes intestate succession. So it is very important that the will is unearthed timely at the time of death or after the death of the deceased. Registration of will. Though registration of will is optional, but it is always advisable. It is not compulsory as per the Registration Act 1908. Who can make a will? Any person above the age of 18 years of age can make a will, since he is competent to contract. He must be of sound mind. He should not be under any undue influence or coercion of subject matter of fraud. ऐसा नहीं है कि गन पॉइंट पे will लिखवा लिया. So that should not be the case. And will should be voluntary. And the testator, the person writing the will, the author of the will, should know all the contents of the will. Even a deaf, dumb, blind person can make a will, provided that the contents of the will are explained to him or her. In case of an insane person, जिसका थोड़ा mental disturb रहता है, कभी कोई पागलपन वगैरह के दौरे पड़ते हैं, तो during the period of sanity means कि जब उसका ठीक है, mental stable ठीक है, mental state, so at that time he can make a will, provided that a doctor is a witness in that will. Who should make a will? Now the question arises, who should make a will? Male, female, we have already discussed. Male should also make a will. Female should also make a will. Whether married or unmarried, they should make a will. Now, how an unmarried person should make a will? I discussed a case study here. There is a father, mother has already expired. One unmarried son is there. Unmarried son is having good assets. He is not yet married. Now, what happens? He expires, leaving behind no will. Now, fortunately or unfortunately, what happens? One lady comes to the father and says, your son has married me. And she produces some evidences in the form of some certificates or some photographs. Though the veracity of those photographs or certificates, marriage certificate, can't be judged. It may be fake because this is an era of artificial intelligence. Many frauds are taking place. So now, if such a situation is there, 50% of the property of the son, according to the Hindu Succession Act, will also devolve upon that lady. Litigation, father can go, but it is very difficult for him to prove. And secondly, litigation goes for years. And the worst part is, it is undivided share. Undivided share. वो कहेगी हाउस में भी आई हैव 50% शेयर, फैक्ट्री में भी आई हैव 50% शेयर, बैंक अकाउंट. So the whole life, the entire life of that father will ruin. So where there are assets, huge assets, it is advisable that even unmarried person should make a will. Whether you are in business, profession or salaried, it is advisable each and everyone should have a will. Whether the family atmosphere is cordial or disputed in case of disputes, तो बनाना ही बनाना है. लेकिन if relations are cordial, then also one should go for will, so that the relation remains cordial even after the death. Young person, whether बुढ़ापा आएगा ही आएगा, जरूरी ही नहीं है. Whether you are young, old, healthy, unhealthy, having some disease or not, one should go for a will.
Tanuj bhai, give a minute to me. Just
Yes, sir.
30 seconds only.
No, sir.
माननीय श्री ओपी अग्रवाल साहब हमारे मेंटर और हमारी संस्था के जो संस्थापक है, वो हमारे साथ जुड़े हुए हैं. हम उसका बहुत बहुत स्वागत करते हैं. हम उनका बहुत बहुत स्वागत करते हैं ओपी अग्रवाल साहब का. तनुज भाई कंटिन्यू करें आप.
Sir is on mute. सर आप अनम्यूट कर लें, आपका आवाज नहीं आ रहा.
सर आप अनम्यूट करें सर, आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही. भाई साहब आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही. ओपी भाई साहब आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही. अनम्यूट करें.
I hope I'm audible now.
Yes, sir. Yes. आपका बहुत बहुत स्वागत भाई साहब. आपका आशीर्वाद बना रहेगा. और
Thank you so much. I'm extremely grateful. I was tempted to hear Gudwala sahab also, but I got late on the way.
Yeah.
So Tanuj is perhaps a wonderful member of ours. So it's good that Tanuj is now on the subject. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Please continue, Tanuj.
Yes,
please
Tanuj
continue, Tanuj.
So in case of matrimonial disputes, it is always advisable to make a will. Whether person is rich, poor, low assets, high assets, because transfer and transmission of assets, the procedure involved is very complicated. Only child cases that I have already discussed, even if there is only one child, will should be there. No immovable property, even if there is no immovable property, only movable assets are there, will is advisable. You can be a beneficiary to a will. Any family member or relative can be beneficiary. Even a friend can be a beneficiary. In case of Birla, we have seen one chartered accountant. This chartered accountant was beneficiary in the will, and that was even affirmed by the Honorable Supreme Court. Servant, yes, you can give to servant also a part of your wealth. Trust, you can create a trust through will, or you can donate some charity through will. Even a stranger can be a beneficiary. Pet, yes, your pet can also be a beneficiary, but through a pet trust. What can be a subject matter of will? Movable, immovable properties can be subject matter of will. Intellectual property rights, patent, trademark, copyrights. Self-acquired assets or whether received in partition, gifts, inheritance, in individual capacity, please mind. In case of HUF property, only your share can be subject matter of will, not the entire property, because HUF is a fluctuating body and HUF is a separate entity in the eyes of law. Your business, whether you are doing business in proprietorship, it can be a subject matter of will, you can write. For partnership, we will discuss later on in the slides to come. Unrevealed assets. Unrevealed assets can also be a part of will, whether they are disclosed or undisclosed in your balance sheet or outside your balance sheet. For example, if a person is keeping gold bars somewhere in his property, in his house property, he should mention it. Otherwise, what will happen if it is unrevealed? The legal heirs may sell the house and move away. Or there may be some bank lockers which are undisclosed, which are even not the income tax department, but even the family members are not knowing. So these unrevealed assets should come through will. They can be a subject matter. Digital assets, lockers, future assets. Even a person can write about future assets. That these are my present assets, and in case any asset I acquire in future in any property, movable or immovable, that property should also go to such and such person. So for future assets, we can also write. For current and future liabilities, cremation procedure and expenses, these also persons write in will. Whether they want to donate the body, donate the eye, a cremation procedure. A donation and charity, if someone wants to donate to any organization, some Goshala or somewhere else, they can write in the will. It can all be part of subject matter of will. Now, what can't be subject matter of will? Tenancy rights. For example, you are enjoying tenancy rights. You cannot say my son will step in or my wife will step in. This is subject to the rent agreement as well as the consent of the landlord. In partnership firms, you cannot write ki after me, my son will enter. If you want such and such thing, it should be beforehand. Because what is partnership? Partnership, according to Section 4 of Indian Partnership Act, it is an agreement between persons. So automatically, your legal heir cannot step in partnership without the consent of the remaining partners. For that, consent of the remaining partners is must. And if you perceive that there may be problems after my death, then you should amend the partnership deed today itself. Today you are alive. Take the consent of the other partner ki after my death, my son or my wife or any other person will step in the partnership firm. So today they may agree. After you are gone and you have left this world, they may not agree. Post in organization. Suppose you are MP, MLA, and you cannot write after my death, my son will take over. So drafting of a will. This is very important. First thing is the details of the testator, a person making a will. Complete details should be mentioned. Second is competency of the testator. He is of unsound mind. He is not under any influence, undue influence, coercion, or subject matter of fraud. The next point comes family and relative details. The details of family members and relatives. The immediate family members should be there. Details of assets and liabilities to the extent possible. जितनी डिटेल्ड में आप दे सकते हैं उतनी डिटेल में दीजिए. Details of beneficiary, there should be no ambiguity here. The will should be unambiguous. Details of executor, administrator. These all points we will discuss in detail here and after also. I will be a little fast here because I have to cover many slides. The past will revocation that you had earlier made any will, you have to revoke that will. That clause should also come in the present will. Utmost care and diligence to be exercised while drafting a will. Who can be a witness to a will? 2 independent witnesses should be there. It is recommended, though not mandatory, 1 doctor and 1 legal professional. Doctor in case a person is very old age or he is an insane person. So doctor is advisable for young people. You may go without a doctor or a legal professional as well. Witness should be known to the testator, because in case of future disputes, if it is known to the family of the testator, it is advisable. Otherwise, आपने किसी को कहा कि विटनेस आ जाना, वो आया नहीं, आपने कहा कि अरे आप ही कर दो, कोई भी मिल गया हमारे रजिस्ट्रार ऑफिस में. So no, this should not be done. The beneficiary of a will or spouse should not be a witness to the will, because conflict of interest arises. Witness should be independent. The witness should be above 18 years of age, sound mind, and young age witness is preferable. For example, you are making a will at the age of 45 and your witness is 75. So that should not be the case, because there is a possibility that the witness will expire soon due to his old age. So that's why young witness is required. Witness need not know the contents of the will. What is written in the will, witness का कोई मतलब नहीं. The only part is witness should know कि there is no undue influence coercion. आपने voluntarily will बनाया है and you have signed in his presence. Who can be an executor to a will? Again, executor should be known to the testator and his family. Executor can be a beneficiary, though it was a restriction for witness, but for beneficiary there is no restriction. For executor there is no restriction. Even a beneficiary of a will can be an executor to the will. He should be 18 years of age, sound mind, young age preferable, and even independent professional like chartered accountant, advocates, or any organization also, they can be executor or joint executor to a will. For this purpose, they may charge their remuneration and fees. Consent sheet is necessary. It is always advisable to obtain consent of the executor. Though they may not know the contents of the will, it is not necessary that they may know the content of the will, but their consent is advisable. What one can do, in a sealed envelope, they can give to the executor. I have made executor, your name is written, and please open this envelope only at the event of my death. And in case there is some urgency, for example, if he want to donate his body or his eyes, so he should he should inform that intention to the executor. As soon as I die, kindly inform my family immediately so that my body is donated. Because after a lapse of a time, the body or the eyes that are not good for human consumption, for replacement. Sorry. Now, if there is no executor appointed, then court has to be approached for appointment of executor, and even joint executors can be appointed. Registration of will, though it is not compulsory as per the Registration Act 1908, but it is always advisable. It increases the authenticity of the will and the chances of future disputes are mitigated. And also, a registered will gets preference over unregistered will. Banks, demat accounts, their depository participants, they all accept will, which is registered. Even in the Income Tax Act, they write registered will. If it is registered will, then other documents of legal years are not required. Can will be on a plain paper? Yes, why not? Stamp paper is non-mandatory. It can be handwritten also in the handwriting of the testator. When will comes into effect? It comes only into effect when the testator dies. Until and unless he is alive, before his death, he remains the owner of all the assets and liabilities. And only after, at the time of his death, the assets and liabilities are transferred and transmitted to the legal heirs. He can change the will anytime, any number of times. What if the beneficiary predeceases the testator? The beneficiary in the will, he predeceases. For example, Mr. A has written a will in which Mr. A's son, Mr. B, he is the beneficiary. But unfortunately, Mr. B expires. The son expires before father. So what will, where the property will go? So there are two situations here. If his son has also made a will, then according to his will, his assets will go. And if there is no set, then according to Hindu Succession Act, class 1 years, class 2 years, or as the case may be, his assets will go. Life interest. One interesting thing is there of life interest. This is where possession of the property, where the use of the property, the enjoyment of the property is only bequeathed through a will, and ownership is given to someone else. For example, a person writes a will, till my wife is alive, she will enjoy this house property. She will live and will enjoy peaceful possession and enjoyment of this property. But after her death, this property will go to my son. Son cannot ask his mother to vacate the property without her consent. In such a situation, this is known as life interest. But here drafting is to be taken care of very meticulously. Otherwise, it will prove catastrophic. Because one has to analyze the situation ki besides giving the property, merely giving the property will not suffice. How will she earn her living if the son is not cooperating? She cannot sell the property. She has only right to live. But what about her daily expenses? So these all things have to be taken care of. All situations have to be analyzed. There is one famous judgment on this life interest of Honorable Supreme Court, Sadhu Singh versus Gurudwara Sahib Singh Narike. In that case, one husband, she wrote a will and gave life interest of house property to his wife. And she said they don't have any son, any children. So she said, he said in the will, after my wife, my property will go to the nephews. So what wife did during her lifetime, she donated it to Gurudwara. The nephews went to the case went to the Supreme Court from the side of nephews, and the Honorable Supreme Court said no, she didn't have any right. She only had the right of peaceful enjoyment of the property till she is alive. For transfer of asset, for donating it to Gurudwara, she didn't have any right. So the property will go back to the nephews. Can separate will be made for separate assets? Yes. But this fact has to be clearly mentioned in all the wills. For example, a person is having 3 immovable properties and 2 sons. What he decided, if one property will go to one son, one property will go to one son, and for the third property, he has not yet decided. He is in a dilemma. He is yet to decide. So whether he should prolong the process of making a will till he finally decides, or it is better to make a will. So what he does, he makes a will in which 2 properties are bequeathed to 2 sons, and he clearly writes, for this third property, I am not yet decided. So this third property is not the subject matter of this will now. So in future, if he dies without making a will, the third property will be governed by the Hindu Succession Act. जो legal years में equal मिलना है वो equal मिल जाएगा. And in case he decides, he writes another will for the third property, then this fact has to be mentioned in the will. That for I have already made earlier will, but that is not revoked here because that was concerned with separate assets, and this will is concerned with only the third house property. So both will prevail, but this fact has to be clearly mentioned in the wills, both the wills. Revocation of will by testator's marriage. In case this provision, section 69 of Indian Succession Act 1925 does not apply to Hindus, Jains, Sikhs or Buddhists. It applies to Christian, Jews and Parsis, wherein if any will is written before marriage and a person marries, then the will is revoked, automatically revoked by the process of law. Thereafter, they have to make will afresh after marriage. Probate. Now, probate is a copy of will certified by the court, and it is a conclusive evidence of execution of a will. Executor of the will has to approach the court of law for granting probate. In some cities like Chennai, Kolkata, Mumbai, it is compulsory, where property is situated in these cities. Otherwise, it is optional. Court fees have to be paid. Thereafter, after analyzing all the situations and evidence is on record, the courts grant probate. One is letter of administration. This is different from probate. Probate is in case of testamentary succession, whereas letter of administration, in case of letter of administration, it is the case of intestate succession. Here the legal years, the beneficiary apply to the court with the death certificate of the deceased, list of legal years, value of estate, court fees has to be paid, and public notice is given. Thereafter, the court grants letter of administration. Now coming to the next slide, succession certificate. It is issued by court of law, succession certificate, but it is generally concerned with the debts and movable securities. Whereas probate and letter of administration, these are concerned with both movable and immovable properties. Again, succession certificate is required where there is no will, in case of intestate succession. Now I come to nomination. Nomination for in case of investments and insurance is always advisable for smooth transmission of asset. One important thing here is the nominee is only a custodian. He is not the real owner. Real owner is whom? Either in case of intestate succession, owner is class 1 years or as the case may be, who are surviving. And in case of testamentary succession, the owners are the beneficiary in the will. Nominee is only the custodian. It is always advisable to have nominations and update nomination in case of nominee expires. And also ensure there should be consistency in will and nomination so that any ambiguity is avoided and any future disputes are avoided. Joint holder. It is also advisable to have joint holders in bank accounts, lockers, investments for smooth transmission and transfer of assets. Even after joint holder, nomination can be there. And joint holder always prevails over nominee. Generally, joint holders are spouse. There are 3 types of joint holders, either or survivor, anyone or survivor, or former or survivor. In case of either or survivor, anyone can operate the locker or asset as the case may be. And in case of former or survivor, the second can operate only on the death of the former. Joint will. Can will be joint? Yes, in case of husband-wife, will can be joint where reciprocal promises are there. For example, husband says कि my property in case I expire will go to my wife, and wife says in the same will कि my property if I expire earlier than my husband, then the entire property will go to my husband. So any amendment in this joint will, both consent of both the people are required, both the husband and wife. Now I come to taxation aspects in income tax. Both intestate succession and testamentary succession with will or without will, they are exempt. They are not regarded as transfer in the hands of legal heirs. However, subsequent sale is liable to tax. But this is not. And even the deemed gift provisions are not applicable if any property or asset is received by way of inheritance. The period of holding and cost of acquisition of the previous owner. I request the participants to be on mute and ask the queries, if any, at the end of the session.
तनुज भाई, आप अपने आप को अनम्यूट कर लीजिए। तनुज जी, आप अपने आप को अनम्यूट कर लीजिए। Yes.
Yes.
Yes, mute.
So just a second, I have missed the slide.
Yeah.
Yes, it is now visible. Yes. In case up till the date of death, the income arising from the assets will be taxed in the hands of the deceased. And after his death, but before distribution to the legal heirs, executor has to distribute. And there may be some disputes or some process of law has to be taken care of, due to which some time gap is there. In such cases, as per section 168 of the Income Tax Act, a separate PAN number has to be taken by the executor in representative capacity. And the income arising after the date of death up till the date of final execution, the income arising in between this period has to be taxed in the hands of this Executor is representative capacity. And after the death and distribution has taken place, the income arising from the assets will be taxed in the hands of legal heir. In case of GST, in case of proprietorship business, if the business is proprietorship, and there may be two situations. The first situation is the legal heir want to close the business. In such a situation, all the pending returns have to be filed. The input tax credit already availed on the input stock, which is left still under stock, this has to be reversed and tax has to be paid. The registration has to be surrendered. If there is any input tax credit of which refund can be claimed due to exports or due to inverted duty structure, that refund can be claimed. And if any balance is lying in the cash ledger, that can also be claimed as refund. Now, another situation is in case of proprietorship, if the legal heir want to continue business, then he or she has to obtain a separate registration in the name of legal heir. Secondly, he has to transfer ITC through form number ITC2 by filing this form number ITC2 from old business under the deceased registration to legal heir registration. And thereafter, he has to file pending returns and surrender the old registration. Now, what is the legal heir's liability? The liability of legal heir is restricted to the amount or to the value of assets which he has received or bequeathed by way of will. It cannot be more than that. For example, he received rupees 100 as an asset from legal heir, but his liability is 150. So he cannot be compelled to pay 150. Only up till rupees 100 to which he has received, the legal heir is liable to discharge the liability of the deceased. Assessment in the name of that person is void, that we all know, and notices also issued in the name of that person are void. Now coming back to HUF. HUF is a good tool for tax planning, but it is advisable that immovable property are not kept as in HUF. Otherwise, it relates to disputes. Dispute starts. In case of HUF, it is a fluctuating body. In case of birth in a family, the number of members, the HUF increases, and in case of death, it decreases. With effect from 9 September 2005, now daughters are at par with sons. Eldest male member can be karta, and in some cases, females can also be karta. Now, what happens if HUF gives gift to his relatives? So one judgment is there कि since HUF is a group of persons, group of relatives, it can give. But kindly be very cautious in planning, because judgments are overturned and new law evolves every time. And gift to HUF, it is taxable if it is by a non-member, and if a member gives a gift to HUF, though it is not taxable under section 56, but clubbing provisions apply. What are the daughter rights with effect from 9/9/2005? There was amendment on 9/9/2005 in section 6, where now daughters are at par with sons. Prior to 11th August 2020, Honorable Supreme Court judgment in case of Vinita Sharma versus Rakesh Sharma, there was ambiguity because there were different judgments. But now the position is clear. What the Honorable Apex Court said in case of Vinita Sharma, the daughter must be alive on 9/9/2005. Father may or may not be alive. And HUF must exist on 9/9/2005. Registration of partition. If any person claims that the HUF has already been partition, no. The partition had to be registered. Oral partition are not allowed. To establish that HUF was in existence or not on 9/9/2005. And the Honorable Court also said that settled issue will remain unsettled, and due to this judgment, new litigations will not arise. Private trust, yes, private trust is also a part of succession planning, where in case of family trust are being incorporated for succession planning, particularly for spouse, or if their assets are there, or disabled children or minor children, if there is no one to take care of them, or pet trust in case of pets. Now we discuss the benefits of testamentary succession. That is, what are the benefits of making a will? The first is the law does not prevail over the person's choice. It is the person whose choice prevails, and he can distribute his or her assets and obligations as per his own wish. The probability of future disputes and litigations are reduced. Amicable relationship may continue if there is a will. Class other than class 1 years, like father, grandparents, grandchildren, they can also be held beneficiary in a will. The interested provisions, they are refrained from applying. Cordial relation in the family continues. Joint business, family business escalates smoothly. Assets are revealed. If there are some unrevealed assets, maybe locker or some valuables, these are unrevealed through a will, because a person can write about these assets and its location. The interest of senior citizens, females, minors are protected through will. It also allows testator to donate his assets after will. Liabilities are taken care of effectively in will. For example, your friend has given you some loan in cash. You want to repay, but presently you are not in a capacity to repay. So what you can do, you can write in the will, okay, I have taken such and such amount from my friend, and at the time of my death, kindly legal years, please note, this amount has to be paid. Otherwise, the friend will approach the family, I have paid. Who will believe him? The cost, time, and energy of legal years are saved in transfer and transmissions of assets. All these SLs are reduced. Even non-relative can be made beneficiary. Undeserving may not enjoy the property, only the reward will go to the person who are taking your care. Third parties like tenants or partners, they cannot take undue advantage. There is ease in realization of wealth by the legal years. And will is a very good tax planning tool, in which, like daughter-in-law, whose files are not strong, that can be made strong, HUFs can be created, and many more tax plannings can be done through will. There is an old English saying said, where there is a will, there is a way. Though it was used in a different context, I have used it here. Succession planning in case of small business. In case of proprietorship, the business owner should intimate his or her chartered accountant, advocate, or tax consultant about his desire. And even CS can ask them, what if you expire? Kindly let me know. In case you expire, whom to transfer this asset? Who should be your proprietor? Son A, son B, or wife? In case of HUF business, the Karta will change. In case of partnership deed has to be amended if there is no clause of admission of legal year as partner in place of deceased. Otherwise, you have to specify this also in the will. In case of private limited and limited company, about shareholding, you can specify. But regarding directorship also, you have to intimate it to your council, to whom you want to add director, for which consent of other directors may also be required. So these things have to be planned beforehand. In case of large group family business, there are complications involved. Particularly, the first is cross-holding of assets. For example, factory A. Earlier, factory A was in joint. Now, factory A is run by person B, but the ownership is in some other name. Meaning, thereby the possession is and management is with some person, and the ownership, the legal ownership title is with some other person. Or there are joint ownership. दोनों ब्रदर्स के नाम से फैक्ट्री है, लेकिन व्हाट हैपेंस कि अदर जो दूसरा ब्रदर है, ही इज डूइंग सेपरेट बिजनेस, इज नाउ नॉट कंसर्न्ड विद द बिजनेस ए विद द पर्सन इज रनिंग, बट द टाइटल इज स्टिल एग्जिस्ट इन हिज नेम. Similarly, cross holdings may be there in personal immovable property. It was decided कि now this house में कुछ कोई और रह रहा है, लेकिन ownership is with some other person in the family. So what it is recommended that all these things, they should be to the extent possible, it should be amicably settled during the lifetime itself. And even if something remains, then it should be mentioned in the will clearly, so that disputes between the business relations as well as in the family are mitigated and minimized. Real examples of good succession planning are Dabur Group. A poor example is Singhania Group. But why we go to these big corporates? Many real life examples are around us. Maybe in our extended family, or maybe we are seeing our clients. Family collapses, business collapses, or family grows and business continues. The choice is ours. So, what are the reasons of procrastination? We all know the benefits of making a will, of making a good succession plan. But we all procrastinate. What are the reasons? First reason is nothing will happen to me. I am young and healthy. So why there is a need of succession planning? So this is the biggest myth. Because life is uncertain. Death may knock your doors anytime. They may not give you an invitation. My children are obedient. They are obedient now. But what happens in future when they are married? My relative will take care of my family. My elder brother will take. My in-laws will take. My friend will take. वो अपना परिवार संभाल ले, वो बड़ी बात है. My children are capable, they will manage themselves. Who knows? My daughters are well settled with their husbands in their respective families. So why to make a will? Daughter may not be interested in taking your assets, but her husband, or if she has grown up children, they may force her to take share. They may say कि मेरी sister ने भी तो लिया था share. So why you are not taking a share from your father's property? The daughter inside may not agree and she is reluctant to take share, but under family pressure of her in-laws, her husband or her grown-up children, she may create problem. I have more important tasks to do now. Today I am busy, we'll do it tomorrow. Tomorrow never comes. The most significant time to do an important task is now. Now some practical tips I will discuss. This is the golden rule I already discussed with you. Anticipate your debt today. What if I expire today? If I don't have any will, who are the beneficiaries of my will? To whom the business will go? To whom the properties will go? What will happen to the tenants, to the partnerships, to the directorships, to the shareholding? And if you have made any will, then also you have to anticipate, and this has to be reviewed on every birthday. It is advisable to make will early. If you are 40 years of age, you can make will. And maybe for 20, 30 years from now, it is not required to be changed. Go for registration of will. Unregistered will may create problems and disputes. You may take guidance of your family members, involve your family members in your succession plan. But this thing has to be taken care of. It depends upon your family situations. If there are disputes, it is better not to involve family members. And if the relations are cordial, you may take their guidance. You may disclose them. You may even give copy of will to them. There is no harm. Share your assets with your spouse, particularly the unrevealed assets. Your username, password, place of important documents. These things have to be disclosed to your spouse. Protect your interest of your parents and spouse first. Update nominations in your investments, insurance, and see that your nomination should be in harmony as far as possible with your will. May add your name of your spouse as joint holder in your various accounts and investments. Remove inconsistencies in your personal records. Now, this succession planning is also a very good opportunity for professionals like us in taxation field, like chartered accountants, advocates. because now the compliance work for financial year 22-23 is over now. Government is not in a mood to extend the dates. They are happy with the interest and late fees collection. So majority of the work of tax professionals, barring the appeals and litigations which go on round the year, is over now. So now you have time. Like we are in the month of November, Diwali is over, half November is gone. So November, December, Jan, Feb, March. So this is a good time. At this lean season, you may touch your A category clients first. And you may discuss about the succession planning. You may make their succession plan, execute their wills. They will be happy. You are providing service to them. You may charge handsome amount from them as fees. You are helping them, and they will be also be happy. No one has opened our eyes. Uniform Civil Code. So there are presently different laws regarding succession, inheritance, marriage, maintenance, adoption, as far as different religions are concerned. For different religions, there are different laws. Now the government is aiming for a uniform civil law code. This is Uniform Civil Code. So that there is equality between various religions as far as the civil laws of marriage and all these are concerned. Marriage, succession, these are concerned. What is the best inheritance? The finest inheritance you can give to a child is to allow it to make its own feet, own way, completely on its own feet. You should empower your the generations to come. You should give them strength. You should give them vision. You should give them way so that young future leaders are developed. This is the best inheritance. You will give them proper people. A legacy is what you leave in them. Legacy, parampara, जो values हैं, वो property से ज़्यादा important है. So with these words, I am at the end of my presentation. I don't know how much time is left with me. And to end, I say, there is a famous quote in Hindi, a poem, which says, just a minute. I am thankful to the organizers, particularly Shri O.P. Agarwal ji, Satish Gupta ji, and RTCA President CA V.K. Jolly ji, Advocate, and Ratan Goyal ji, and all people present there for giving me a patient hearing and a wonderful opportunity to share my views on this topic. Thank you. Over to Ratan Goyal, sir.
Thank you, Tanuj bhai, giving an eye-opening discussions, eye-opening deliberations. No doubt at all, we have seen that what happens if they don't have the succession planning, the family can mess, family can collapse, the business can collapse. We have seen by his deliberations. हमारे बीच ओपी अग्रवाल साहब हैं, जो बहुत ही एक्सपीरियंस है इस फील्ड में. उन्होंने बहुत सारे रेजोल्यूशंस इस फील्ड में किए हुए हैं. So we would like to have few words in this era. माननीय ओपी अग्रवाल साहब, say something, sir. अनम्यूट करें सर, अनम्यूट करें अपने आप को.
Yes, sir. I'm audible now?
Yes, now audible.
Welcome, bhai sahab. Pranam. Thank you, Vinay bhai. So this is a wonderful deliberation that Tanuj has come out with. I understand he must have been given double or triple of the time which you people have given him.
Yes.
At the same time, I am doubly sure that whatever he has covered is really so much beneficial to the testator himself, to the beneficiaries in the will, the manner in which the will needs to be written, the necessity of writing the will. But I can definitely supplement few things to Tanuj. Let's see, the will is always the last will. So last will is registered or not, the will previously registered even would supersede. meaning thereby that the last will only would prevail. Only this morning I was discussing with Gurwala Sahab. I happened to read a book called The Testament. It is some American writer, I am forgetting the name. So the man was rich enough, billionaire and millionaire or whatever wealthy he was. He was surrounded by multiple mistresses and all this. Thereafter, in the last, he happened to write a will. He pleased everyone, called the doctors, as Tanuj has said, called the notaries, called the police, called people, and the will was authored. The beneficiaries stood to gain a lot of things, and whoever people who were abusing him earlier, not liking him earlier, started liking. But what had happened thereafter, that the man invited all of them to 67th floor of his building, hosted them a lunch, and just took an excuse to go toilet. From the toilet, he jumped on the road, he died. When his pockets were examined, there was a slip lying in his pocket, which was considered to be his last will, and he bequeathed every damn thing he owned to a distressed child, distressed, mentally ill child of that person. Therefore, whenever we write a will, we need to really write that this is my last will. Anyway, this may still not serve the purpose like the man who did in testament. Therefore, writing the will is just like writing a story. It's just storytelling. I would again recall a time when in my childhood days, maybe my graduation days, as a pastime, I read a Hindi book called Krishnakant Ka Vasiyatnama. And that novel ran into 2-3 volumes. And whatever possible things which may have come, which has happened in his life, which might even come out, they were all covered. So I personally suggest that while writing a will, in the capacity of a professional, if I am writing my own will, then I am the judge of my own choice. But if I am writing the will for a client, let me take that client in confidence. Let that client realize that I am a family member. I am not going to in any way leak the contents of the will. And then whatever stories which have happened with him, what are the possible things which might happen, it needs to be taken into account. So that is possibly in the shortest time I can share my personal feelings. Thank you so much for allowing me to share my views. Thank you.
Thank you, भाई सर. Thank you, sir, for your आपके आशीर्वचन और आपकी गाइडिंग जो चीजें हैं उनको ध्यान में रखेंगे. सभी लोग यहाँ सुन रहे हैं, आपको बहुत अच्छे से सुन रहे हैं, और सभी लोग अपने अपने क्लाइंट्स को उसी लाइन पे सजेस्ट भी करेंगे और अपने जीवन में उतारेंगे भी. Thank you, Tanuj bhai. We take the 5 minutes in question answer. If any is there any audience, if you have any question, you may raise your hand.
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah, please.
This is Advocate Kashyap here from Mumbai.
Yes, sir.
That Tanuji, if the provision of the will is against the succession rules, which you have explained in initial stages, that is category 1, category 2, and all that, then which one will prevail? If the provision of the will is something, will prevail.
Yes. Because these rules, the Hindu Succession Act, which I discussed, it is in case of intestate succession, where a person dies without leaving a will. There are separate provisions for males and separate for females. So you can bequeath your property to anyone, even to a stranger, even to a trust, even you can donate. But in absence of will, that is intestate succession, the Hindu Succession Act in case of Hindu, Jain, Sikhs and Buddhists will apply. And class 1 years, class 2 years, agnates, cognates and escheat. And in case of female succession, we also discussed. So that will apply. But that only in case of absence of will.
Okay.
Law will prevail only where you do not exercise your choice.
Okay.
If you exercise your choice, then your choice will prevail above the rule.
Yeah, thanks. But there is one more question. The example of that lady which you have given, that she has separated from her husband for last 15 years,
yes,
and she died and she had a lot of property, then the property will go to her husband.
husband.
But what will happen if the husband has married second time to another lady? Whether it will have any effect on the provision?
See, in case of Hindus, unless and until you give divorce, you cannot remarry.
But as we have
But
seen
your
that
wife,
there is
earlier
a
wife has
provision.
got died. Earlier wife has died without taking divorce during the lifetime.
Yes.
No, but during the, I have a point here. During the earlier presentation, you have mentioned that if there are two wives, then the share will go like this, like this. So in that scenario, if a Hindu cannot marry second time during the lifetime of the first wife, how that provision is kept in the law, or how far it is practical in the real life?
See, the Hindu Succession Act came in 1956. Before that, there were instances ki before the passing of this making of this enactment, a person may have married. He might have two wives.
No, but here the question is that as far as the law is concerned, the wife has not given divorce to her husband.
Yes, yes.
But her husband has, it is a deemed provision that her husband has assumed that since she is not living with him, he has all the right. There is no provision in the law that he cannot marry again because, right, there is no cohabitation, there is no matrimonial rights with husband. So he has all the rights to go ahead and get married second time.
No, no. See, dissertation of 2 years is required. But for that
Here it
permission
is.
of court, this is a ground for taking divorce. But formal divorce, you have to approach the court and say okay, she is not living with me for past so many years, so kindly give divorce. So the court will issue notice to the lady, and if
Okay.
it is only after that the court will pass decree of divorce.
Okay.
And if that decree is not taken by either party, the marriage is still subsisting. So it is on the choice of both the husband and wife whether to take divorce or not. They may be living separately, but they don't want to take divorce.
Okay. Secondly, sir, as a karta of HUF, is it advisable to make a will or that provision is not there?
The karta of HUF can make will in his personal capacity for personal assets, not for the assets of HUF. Only to the extent of his or her share in the HUF property he can make will, but not the entire HUF property, because HUF is a separate body.
So he has to make a separate will for HUF? His
No.
share in the HUF?
No, his share in the HUF he can include in his personal properties and specify it separately. But for the entire HUF property, he cannot make will, because that entire HUF property does not belong to him individually. It belongs to the entire HUF family.
Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you
you,
very
Ramesh
much.
bhai.
It was very valuable.
Thank you, sir.
There is a one query. If there is no executor, can beneficiary itself act on the will? There is no executor.
So there is no executor. So if there is no dispute in the family, then they can resolve it amicably.
Right.
And if there is some dispute, some legally raises some dispute, then they have to approach the court for appointing executor. Then
But
the
if
court
there
will
is no dispute among the family toward the will, so then will can be satisfied. मतलब वो जो जितना भी division है वो cannot be challenged.
That cannot be challenged.
Right.
Excuse sir, I have one question. What is the status of live-in partner? Live-in relationship partner. What will be the status?
There is no legal right.
But
there is no marriage. There is no legal right.
बट हाल ही में इसका सुप्रीम कोर्ट का एक डिसीजन आया ना कि क्या कहते हैं ना उसको 125 वगैरह डाइवोर्स 12A का वगैरह सबका बेनिफिशियल मिलेगा, तो उसमें ये भी आया था कि प्रॉपर्टी का भी हिस्सा मिलेगा.
So sir, in case any person dies, so the property will go to the legal heirs as per the Hindu Succession Act. So in the Hindu Succession Act, there is no provision of living partner.
Living partner. थैंक यू सो मच। मेरे ख्याल से अब कोई दूसरा क्वेश्चन है नहीं हमारे पास में।
रतन गोयल जी सर,
यस सर,
मेरा एक क्वेश्चन है लेकिन इससे हटके है।
बोलिए।
आपको शायद श्याम जी एडवोकेट साहब ने डाला भी था वो 16/4 का जीएसटी का,
जीएसटी का
16/2C का, हाँ 16/2C का वगैरह 16/4 का, इसका क्या रेमेडी करें सर? एक्चुअली 16/2C का ऑलरेडी पेड कर दिया है सप्लायर ने, लेकिन लेट फाइल किया है 16/4 की डेट से
जीएसटी से
जीएसटी का
रिलेटेड।
रिटर्न।
तनुज भाई,
तो 16/2C 180 डेज वाला कह रहे हैं कि आप?
हाँ सर, वो 16/2C वाला 16/4 एक्चुअली अपने सप्लायर ने रिटर्न लेट भर दिया।
हाँ
16/4 के बाद।
GSTR1।
हाँ GSTR1 और 3B।
हाँ तो
तो
सी
अपन ने तो क्लेम कर लिया था।
फॉर विच ईयर?
18-19।
Sir, in 18-19, 2A was not applicable. 2A came into picture from financial year 1920 and thereafter. So 2A matching was not there in financial year 17-18 and 18-19. So the department cannot insist, though they have issued a circular, that is circular number 183 on 27 December 2022. Saying that in such cases, if the credit is not appearing, then you have to obtain a certificate from your supplier that by oversight it has not been reflected in GSTR1. Maybe he has shown in B2C, or maybe he has rectified it later. On that, the basis of that certificate, you can get credit. And if the ITC, the input tax credit quantum, it exceeds a particular limit, then a certificate of a chartered accountant or cost accountant is also required. So either you so the first you can litigate on the point of legal issue. If this GSTR2A was not there in financial year 17-18 and 18-19. Secondly, you can take shelter of this certificate, circular number 183 of 27 December 2022. You provide a certificate that supplier already paid the tax and this is a certificate. Third,
but he late paid. He late paid.
He late paid. So what? He has paid. And third, what you can say, ki this 2B provision, it came from when? 1st of January 2022. So what is made applicable from 1st January 2022 onwards, it means it was not there up till 31st December 2021. Are you getting that? What I am able to say?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So law has prospectively from 1st January 2022 provided that in the act they have amended that 16(2)(c) you are saying.
I think
from 1st January
retrospectively they are did that.
No, the department is taking it retrospectively, but the act is clear. It is prospective from 1st January 2022. So when it is prospective of 1st January 2022, it was not there prior to that. So how can you, from a subsequent amendment, you can apply it retrospectively? So you can take these three steps. And fourth, you can say that I have satisfied all the conditions for financial year 18-19. I have received the goods. I have valid tax invoice. I have paid to the supplier, and supplier declared this supply in his return of, in his GST return. So there is, when I have satisfied all the conditions, why are you denying my ITC? So practically what will happen, ki at the adjudication level, they will not grant you relief. But if you make all these points at the appellate level, your chance of getting relief is much higher. And if you provide a certificate, I think at this stage also you can get relief. Certificate from the supplier as per circular number 183, 27 December 2022.
Okay, sir.
थैंक यू तनुज भाई। कुलदीप जी, हमें जीएसटी पे पूरा एबीसीडी से लेके अपील तक हम जीएसटी पे पूरा 5-6 दिन की वेबिनार और रखेंगे। तो आपकी क्वेरीज, जो भी क्वेरीज रहेगी वहां सोल्व की जाएगी। सो वी आर
यहाँ पे भी सॉल्व हो गई सर, बहुत सॉल्व हो गई।
राइट। थैंक यू सो मच। थैंक यू तनुज भाई। थैंक्स अ लॉट तनुज भाई फॉर बीइंग विद अस दिस इवनिंग। फॉर फॉर्मल वोट ऑफ थैंक्स हमारे साथ जुड़े हुए हैं के खंडेलवाल जी अलवर से, वह सीनियर मेंबर है हमारे आरटीसीए के। तो आई वुड लाइक टू invite के खंडेलवाल जी for a formal vote of thanks to Tanuj bhai and audience. KK Khandelwal sir, please.
सर्वप्रथम मैं दीपावली की सभी को हार्दिक शुभकामनाएं। आज हमारे बीच बड़ी खुशी की बात है। धन्यवाद देता हूं आदरणीय ओपी अग्रवाल साहब जो हमारे बीच मौजूद हैं, हमारे सभी के मेंटर हैं, और आर के गुरुवाला साहब जो कि कीनोट स्पीकर थे। शुरू में उन्होंने जो 15-20 मिनट का टेलीविजन दिया, बहुत ही प्रैक्टिकल दिया, उनका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। तनुज भाई, मैं आज पहली बार उनसे रूबरू हूँ, टेलीफोन पे कई बार बात हुई है, बहुत अच्छा रिस्पॉन्स देते हैं, और उनका भी लंदन स्पीकर हैं, और बहुत लीक से हटके जो आज टॉपिक दिया है आरटीसी ने, उसको बखूबी निभाया। किस तरह से विल होना या नहीं होना, दोनों पोजीशंस को उन्होंने बताया, और वास्तव में सही है कि कल करेंगे कल करेंगे, यही समय निकलता जा रहा है कि कल करेंगे, क्योंकि आज के लिए समय नहीं है। आज तो पार्टी में जाना है, आज कहीं शादी में जाना है, कल करेंगे। तो बहुत बखूबी उन्होंने लिखा इस बात को, बड़े सरल भाषा में टेलीविजन दिया। और हमारे को कन्वीनर सी राजेंद्र अग्रवाल जी, आरटीसीए, टीसीए जयपुर, एएफटीपी सेंट्रल जोन के सभी पदाधिकारीगण, स्पेशली विनय जौली जी, रतन जी भाई साहब, और चूंकि आपने मुझे को कन्वीनर बनाया, इसके लिए आपको बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। और क्रक्स ये रहा कि विल सभी को लिखनी है, जरूर से लिखनी है, और बिल्कुल इस तरह से लिखनी है कि कोई लिटिगेशन पैदा ना हो, चाहे उसके लिए हमें हमारे सीनियर्स की मदद लेनी पड़े, हम, और कि जैसे किसकी भी मदद लेनी पड़े, 10 बार उसको पढ़ना पड़े, लेकिन विल ऐसी हो कि जो भविष्य में कोई किस तरह का डिस्प्यूट भी ना हो। तो इसी के साथ में सभी पार्टिसिपेंट्स को हार्दिक धन्यवाद देता हूँ। बहुत ही प्रैक्टिकल टॉपिक दिया है आप लोगों ने। आरटीसीए के अध्यक्ष विनय जौली जी और रतन गोयल साहब को मैं इस बात के लिए विशेष धन्यवाद देता हूँ कि प्रैक्टिकल टॉपिक लेके आपने सभी को लाभान्वित किया है। इसी के लिए मैं सबको बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, हार्दिक आभार।
थैंक यू सो मच।
तनुज सर, मेरे एक क्वेश्चन याद आया, एक क्वेश्चन याद आया मेरे को। सपोज जो अपन विल लिखते हैं सर, वो क्या फ्यूचर को देख के लिखी जा सकती है? उसमें सभी प्रॉपर्टी का ब्यौरा देना जरूरी होता है, या फ्यूचर में मेरी जो भी प्रॉपर्टी होगी या जो भी मैं करूंगा वो इस दिन को चली जाएगी, अगर एक ही को रखना हो तो? किसी को
सर प्रेजेंट के जो भी एसेट्स लाइबिलिटीज है उनका आपको डिटेल डिस्क्रिप्शन देना जरूरी है, और इसके अलावा फ्यूचर के एसेट्स भी आप इसमें ले सकते हैं कि इन फ्यूचर इफ आई एक्वायर एनी प्रॉपर्टी देन इट विल गो टू सच एंड सच पर्सन। तो आप फ्यूचरिस्टिक अप्रोच भी रख सकते हैं, देयर इज नो प्रॉब्लम। अगर आप फ्यूचर एसेट्स डालेंगे इसमें तो इसमें बेनिफिट ये रहेगा कि विल रिवाइज नहीं करनी पड़ेगी। जैसे कि आपने कोई और प्रॉपर्टी खरीद लिया तो बाद में वो प्रॉपर्टी तो आई नहीं गई, फिर कैसे करना है? फिर वापस विल चेंज करो, फिर एक बेच दी दूसरी खरीद ली।
तनुज भाई एक क्वेश्चन और यहाँ पे कि आपने जैसे आपका हाउस है तो हाउस नंबर लिखने से काम चला गया उसका कि मैंने कब खरीदा और इसका रजिस्टर्ड ये है, ये सब लिखना पड़ेगा उसका, या हाउस नंबर ही सफिशिएंट?
नहीं सर, इसमें डिटेल डालिए आप। अब तो क्या हो रहा है, रजिस्ट्रार इज इंसिस्टिंग फॉर द कॉपी ऑफ डॉक्यूमेंट आल्सो।
यस
राइट।
वो तो हाँ, वो रजिस्ट्री का कॉपी भी मांग रहे हैं आपसे कि ऐसी फोटोकॉपी लगाइए साथ में।
फोटोकॉपी लगे, खाली मेयर डिस्क्रिप्शन लिखने से काफी काम नहीं चलेगा, डॉक्यूमेंट्स भी होने चाहिए उसके साथ में।
हाँ, डॉक्यूमेंट्स भी होने चाहिए, फिर डिस्प्यूट हो जाएगा, कोई प्रॉपर्टी है ही नहीं आपकी और आपने बिल में लिख दिया।
राइट,
तो वो डिस्प्यूट चल।
थैंक यू सो मच।
किसी और के नाम पे भी तो लिखी जा सकती है ना, ऐसा थोड़ी है कि अपनी परिवार वालों के नाम पे ही लिखे, अपन किसी और के नाम पे भी तो लिख के जा सकते हैं।
हाँ, किसी के नाम पे भी लिख सकते हैं, मेरे नाम पे भी लिख सकते हैं आप।
किसी को भी प्रॉपर्टी दे सकते हैं सर, किसी को भी प्रॉपर्टी दे सकते हैं
जी।
और तनुज जी से बढ़िया आदमी नहीं मिलेगा जो इन्होंने इतना
जरूर सर, जरूर सर,
इनका हिस्सा बनता है सर, वाजिब बनता है।
नहीं
सर आरटीसीए वगैरह में भी आप डोनेशन कर सकते हैं।
यस सर, हाँ ये एक बड़ा अच्छा सजेशन दिया कि आरटीसीए में भी वो डोनेशन पे आ सकती है। थैंक यू तनुज भाई बीइंग विद अस दिस इवनिंग, थैंक यू ऑनरिंग आवर रिक्वेस्ट, बीइंग विद अस, sharing your views, showing your concern about profession and professional. Thank you. We are ending. Before ending, मैं कल के लिए फिर वापस से एक बार याद दिलाना चाहता हूँ कि कल हमारी वापस से मुलाकात होगी बहुत ही अच्छे सब्जेक्ट के साथ में, वेल्थ क्रिएशन इन आवर लाइफ, कैसे हम वेल्थ क्रिएट करें, कैसे उसको वेल्थ मैनेजमेंट करें और कैसे हम हमारे क्लाइंट्स के लिए वेल्थ क्रिएशन की एडवाइस करें। हमारे साथ जुड़ेंगे ऋषभ राजवंशी जी जो इस फील्ड के 20 सालों के मास्टर्स हैं, इस फील्ड के 20 सालों की नॉलेज रखते हैं, वो कल हमारे साथ जुड़ेंगे। दैट इज ऑल्सो एन वेरी गुड अपॉर्चुनिटी नाउअडेज। बहुत सारे हमारे प्रोफेशनल जो है इस फील्ड में काम कर रहे हैं वो वेल्थ एडवाइजरी सर्विसेज दे रहे हैं, वेल्थ मैनेजमेंट की सर्विसेज दे रहे हैं। यू कैन बी वन ऑफ देम, और वहां पे पैसा बना सकते हैं। और नॉट ओनली पैसा बना सकते हैं, आपके जो क्लाइंट्स हैं उनको प्रॉस्पर कर सकते हैं। When the client will prosper, you will definitely be prosper. हमारे पास उनका शेयर आना ही आना है। सो कल का हमारा बहुत बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट सेशन है, कल आप ज्वाइन करें। थैंक यू, गुड नाइट, सी यू ऑल अगेन टुमारो। थैंक यू खंडेलवाल साहब। Rtca request to be the convener or to be given a thanks. Thank you so much. हम एंड कर रहे हैं इस मीटिंग को आज। थैंक यू सो मच। राइट।